Hello, everybody. Welcome to Irongeek cast number 85. Seize the means of production.
Hey, everybody.
Right on time.
Hello, all you motherfuckers.
Woo!
All right, let me find my window and pause that.
Hey, everybody.
Not that we don't want to, listen to Charles on loop forever. That would be lovely, but still.
Still is awesome.
Beep, bop, boop. Beep, bop, boop.
But do people get that reference anymore if I refer to someone as Pollyanna?
Who? What?
All right,
Refer to them as who?
okay, never mind then.
All right.
No, I mean, I didn't hear that. I know, I meant.
Oh,
cut
I
out on my
said
end.
Pollyanna, but I don't know who the fuck Pollyanna is.
Yeah, I don't know Pollyanna either.
They were always a very happy, cheerful, make everybody feel better sort of a person in I think it was based on a book, but there was a movie by Disney out in the 60s called Pollyanna.
Yeah, I remember that movie.
I think the 60s. I don't know. It was a long time back.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but I do remember the movie.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering
Yeah,
if that much younger than us would know it. All right. Anyway, welcome, everybody to the cast. And anybody got anything new to announce? I don't feel like doing cons on upcoming because some things are in flux right now. I got DerbyCon at the beginning of next month, obviously. But
Woohoo!
DerbyCon.
Yeah.
I need to get my plane. I need to finally get the freaking plane ticket for that.
me too.
Adrian, we need to talk in a little bit. It's about DerbyCon.
Yeah, I'm getting my plane ticket on probably this Friday to DerbyCon. Like I said, I'll be flying out that Thursday. I'll be doing a talk that Saturday morning at 9:30 on hackers and mental health. And I'm calling it MHH, which is mental health hacks. So we're just going to be talking about abundance of stuff, just what's going on in the hacker community and how, people can just get together and help each other heal and help each other. Again, my message is that when one goes through something, we all go through something, man. We all go through the same struggles. So I just want the hacker community, the goal of my message is just to get the hacker community together and let's figure out how we could beat this thing.
Hey, fucking men of that. It's time we set aside our petty bullshit and start working together.
That's what I'm saying. That's my message. So, we need that because, we're in a time now where everybody's on their own little island, and you see the results of that. Everybody being on their own little island doesn't help anything. So I figured, as the hacker community, the InfoSec community, coming together and setting a precedent, an example, like, hey, here's what we're doing over here. You guys need to come aboard. The rest of the world, you guys need to jump on to what we got going on over here because we're awesome. We're an awesome collective group of people. We all do different things, but at the end of the day, we're all looking at one common goal.
Yeah, so realistically, hackers, let's face it, we got a lot of problems as it is. We don't need to be fighting amongst ourselves anyway.
Nope.
Not if we can avoid it.
Yeah. And I want to say this on the cast too. I will be purchasing some stuff from Hack 5 again.
If these interviews work out, I'll probably be getting myself a Bash Bunny.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, the stuff that we talked about offline with everything that was going on, like I told you, my heart is open, man. I'm good.
Hey, fucking men of that,
I'm still
brother.
a conscientious objector.
What's that?
I'm still a conscientious objector.
Yeah.
So what?
That's all, man.
That's fine as long as it's warranted in logic, I hope, and that they're willing to receive it. It's when they're not willing to receive it, then it's an issue.
Well, I mean, I can't worry about if somebody receives it or not. I could just only do my part.
Right.
And that's it, But we'll talk about that later. So how's everybody else's Wednesday? Mine's is freaking awesome. I'm rocking. I'm feeling great. I know we got this storm and we got Hurricane Florence all over the place, and I hope everybody everybody on the cast, whoever has relatives like in the South or whatnot, please just be safe. please let's make sure they're doing check-ins, and let's check on everybody, make sure everybody's okay. And if anybody needs assistance, please reach out to us via Twitter, via Facebook. Just do anything that you can to let us know that you're safe.
Hack
fucking men of that.
Hack Hurricane Florence.
5 times bigger than Kentucky or something. That's what someone was saying.
Wait, what?
Someone was saying it's 2.5 times the height of Kentucky. Storm.
No.
Height as in width, I think. Is what they
Okay, was gonna say.
They said height, but I'm pretty sure they meant width.
Well, I didn't know that Kentucky was that tall, but I do know that hurricanes can go up pretty fucking high, man. I mean, I'm pretty sure they go higher than Elon Musk on weed. I'm just saying.
I'll say for you from that stuff. I thought you were down in South Carolina area or something, wasn't you?
Me?
No, Charles.
What's that?
I forgot what city. Sorry, not city, but what state you live in?
I live in Virginia.
Okay,
but I'm in Northern Virginia, so I'm closer to DC.
All right.
So,
but we're all gonna get a bunch of rain from this.
Oh yeah, definitely. But this is the perfect time for pumpkin spice.
Just wrong.
The rain is the rain with the different color leaves on the ground, and it's foggy outside. It's perfect time for pumpkin spice.
Oh my gosh!
When's this thing supposed to make landfall?
I don't even know.
Within the day, maybe? Oh.
Yeah.
I think it's Saturday it makes landfall.
Okay.
Oh, they may have updated. Last I heard, it was supposed to be Thursday night.
I'll have to look.
Yeah.
So I got some good news.
Okay.
Rock is coming back.
Oh, Chloe's coming back, don't you know? So there's a non-zero possibility I'll be in London, and there's also 1, 2, 3, like 3 or 4 other companies interviewing me right now as well.
Okay.
So I'm just saying I look forward to leaving all this bullshit behind me and just going and working on cool shit.
Cool shit.
I love it.
It's long past time I get the fuck out of here and go work on cool shit again. I think I might have found 1 or 2 companies in particular where I can work on some really fucking cool shit, man.
Good to hear, buddy.
That will be cool.
I'm super happy for you, brother. And again, like I said, learning never stops. Keep on growing, keep on rocking, and keep on kicking ass.
Charles, I like the Mr. Robot in the background. That's one of my favorite episodes too. It's just so creepy.
Yeah. No, I support everyone. Mr. Robot, I'm up here promoting everything.
Hey, Liz.
Yes.
Hey, Liz, any good news?
No, didn't pass. Guess we'll have to schedule it again. I'm a little confused as to.
Huh?
Wait, what?
Hey, no, I didn't. I mean, I supposed to be 70 points to pass. I submitted enough to get 80 points, so I must have screwed up documentation somehow. That's the only thing I can think of.
Hold on.
What the fuck?
Hold on.
So,
Right.
back up. Context, Liz took the OSCP this weekend, and there's some shenanigans.
I might be able to call a guy and find out what the hell happened.
Okay, so I got a question. Okay, like boxes, let you know there's 5 boxes, and then there's the BOF, the buffer overflow.
Well, that's 1 to 5. Well, that is 1 to 5 boxes.
Well, 1 to 5
Yeah,
boxes.
you have to do the buffer overflow or you don't get the OSDP, period.
That's not
Well,
true,
no,
but
that's
you'll
not
be hard
true.
put to get it without it. So
Yeah.
I got the buffer overflow. It's the first box I got.
Yep.
So
That's 25 out the gate.
yeah, and I fully compromised 2 other ones and got partial access on another. The 4th, I didn't get the 5th. So
All right. Now, with the two other ones, were they 20 point boxes, or were they 15 point?
the one I only got partial access on was a 20-pointer, and the one I did not get at all was 10-pointer.
Okay, so what was the other? So you got 4 boxes or 3 boxes?
3.5.
All right, so 3. Now, is that including the BOF? Or
That's including that. Yes.
So 24. So did you get another 25 box?
Yeah, I got one. Yeah, I did.
So 2 25.50, and then
25, 25, 20, and half of another 20.
Oh shoot! And what about the lab report though?
I mean, I did the report. I put all the screenshots in, wrote it up, wrote the steps I did to get in everything. Guess the one thing I really did differently than their template was, instead of organizing it by vulnerability, I organized it by machine. As there was no dedicated section in their template to put in the steps of how you got into a box, so I figured it would look better for the exam if it was organized per machine, but that's the only thing I can think of. Because their initial guidance on that said, if you have any other way of organizing information, that's fine. The templates are for your benefit. That's why I thought they wouldn't mind too much if I made a modification to make it what I thought a bit more readable based on their requirements. That's the only thing I can think of for why they might have taken points off.
In the next day or two, I'll call a guy who used to work for OffStack and ask him.
Okay.
So are you going to take the retake?
Of course. I didn't do all this just to say screw it after the first go.
Oh no. Only reason I asked that because I remember I went to the Nova Hackers meeting this past Monday, and one of the guys on it, he said took the OSCP course and everything else, but then I think he got so frustrated he was just like, nah, screw it. And I'm just like, and Mubix was telling him like, dude, come on, we got to hear you say, hey, you're gonna take the test again because you're going through all of that, man. Just go ahead.
Looks like Jack is calling you basic in the other chat, Charles. I'm not sure. Did you say something about? Oh, yeah, he did say something about pumpkin spice. Never mind. Yeah, now I know why.
Hey man. Pumpkin spice must flow.
Hey Jack, where you at, baby? No, I don't see the chat. Where's he saying this at?
But yeah, my plan was just to contact one of the their support staff and ask general questions, because I know their staff are not allowed to give answers specific to your own exam. When asking general questions as to would these things credibly risk losing points on the exam? Because like I said, I should have gotten. I'm assuming partial access is half the points of the machine, but even if it wasn't, I got full access to enough machines that should have been able to pass. So
right,
yeah. So
not the.
I'm a bit annoyed that any future attempts will be proctored. So got to remove that tape from the webcam and clean that up.
Hey man. Just remember, don't do a strip show for the webcam people.
It's proctored, but can you do it naked?
Well, their guidance says wear the same kind of clothing you would wear when you, if you were opening the door to your house to a stranger.
Oh, they even have some in this. So okay.
Oh my, this could be hilarious.
They're asking for it with that.
Yeah, because I
always answer the door with an assault rifle. What are you talking about?
What? I always wear a gimp suit while opening the door.
I always look like the dude with the white Russian in hand.
I got a friend who lives in Ohio who decided to fuck with some of the pollers who were just, because Ohio's a battleground state. He said to fuck with some of the people going door to door, constantly bothering people by just going, like, opening the door in a thong and just saying, "Oh no, I'm very interested. Please come in. Tell me more. Here, sit on the couch next to me. Please tell me more about the candidate."
I asked you not to tell people about that.
Right.
Thank you.
Here's what you do. If you have Jehovah's Witnesses come to your door, tell them you're a druid, because they fucking hate druids. That'll get them right to fuck off.
Is druids like another way of saying Satanist?
No, it's a form of Wiccanism, basically.
Oh, pagan, got it.
Yeah.
Trees.
Or Or if they come to your door, just say, they're like, "Hi, my name is Judas. Nice to meet you."
Bro.
Yeah, Judas.
Yes, I am that Judas. Fuck you. I have been reborn.
Hi, my name is Keen.
I do want to fuck with it.
Your ideas intrigue me, but I think I need payment first. Might you have 30 pieces of silver?
If you really
I do have the 30. No, you get the 30 pieces of silver and paint them red. So it's blood money.
I don't know if they came in here. If it was a politician, it depends on who comes by. The Libertarians and the Republicans would be just fine, but I think some other people might come in and see all the guns and go, "What?"
Yep. But you know, like I said, man, it's just yes.
See, that's Adrian. That's where it'd be epic if it was like, you know, the Brady campaign or whatever.
Yeah.
Adrian, if I came in your house and saw all those guns, I'd be like, dude, we need to go shooting sometime.
Well,
and that time is now.
Two people on the cast.
I was
all right.
I want to fuck with the Proctor though when I next take it. I'm thinking wearing a Max Headroom mask for a bit.
I don't know if that'd be allowed because then it can't be sure it's you taking the test.
I wouldn't be wearing it the entire time, but yeah, they would have to.
They would have to keep it on and take it off.
Like, what you need to do is like show your face and then put it on and then do the rest of it.
Or you know what? Just like as you're taking the test, make sure like do one of those cool little filters, but have like an eggplant sitting on your shoulder or something. I don't know, like something crazy.
Dancing hot dog.
There you go, or a sex toy just sitting on your shoulder while you type.
Nah, I need to have something in the background to screw with them. That's something that I'm not going to risk failure for the test.
Oh God, I just had the most evil idea ever.
What's that?
Every time you get a shell, you turn on the vibrator for a few minutes.
Owie. I was thinking it'd probably be better to have goat in the background every time you get a shell. The hole widens.
I like.
Hey, they did that in DerbyCon 4 or 5. I can't remember where they had the cheat. Every time you got a flag, like I was like, oh no.
I like Jack's recommendation. I did the Buffalo dance with Goodbye Horses playing in the. I did the Buffalo Bill dance with Goodbye Horses playing in the background.
Oh my goodness!
You know what I would do? I would have it blasting Bondage Club music the whole fucking time in a bondage dungeon.
No, owie.
Owie, no.
Owie, yes.
Owie, no.
Owie, yes.
Let's rock out with some of these show notes, gentlemen.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Hope it's on track, Charles.
All right. So let's get into it. So breach report. We have Family Orbit. You need to get your spyware game up.
Yeah, let me bring these up real quick.
Yeah, because I'm looking at this right now with the spyware company exposed 281 gigabytes of children's photos online. What in the F?
Yeah, so apparently what these guys do is they're like a parental, big brother. You put their product onto your kids' phones, and then you can monitor, GPS, take screenshots of what's on the screen, even like take pictures. Essentially, I think anytime you want. And yeah, they left all this data publicly exposed, and it was found.
Oh shit!
I'd like to point out the proper place to put that data is don't.
Well,
yeah. Is it monitor pictures like if kids are sexting each other? Does that get put out there too?
Yes.
I'd like to point out a very interesting
but that would be part of it.
I want to point out a very interesting picture. Why is there a shop, Tiffany's and Company? Isn't Tiffany's a ring or something?
I mean, there's also a store in New York called Tiffany's.
Yeah, where they have rings and
my understanding is Tiffany's is a little more complicated than that, but I'm not gonna fucking do the research right now because I'm playing Rainbow Six.
All right, and I hope you're winning.
Ish.
Yeah.
Ish.
But
Ish.
I'm currently doing some hack the box. I'm just waiting for these scans to finish.
Sorry, is there any really bad shit that got leaked out of this? I mean, what?
It's kind of unknown. I haven't seen the dump.
Me neither.
I don't think it's been uploaded to any of the sources I have, but I haven't personally seen it, so I don't know if there's any real bad stuff. But there's the potential of there being some real bad stuff.
Yeah. So pretty much.
I'm going to say be very careful with that dump, because if there's any nudes or anything like that, that could be treated as child porn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the same sense, you know, this Family Orbits company, my expectation is that if any of those types of pictures were taken, collected, that those were reviewed and removed prior to going into their large-scale database.
Well, did they review anything, or did they just automatically send it to the parents so the parents can view the shit?
I mean, but even if the parents review it, I mean, what could that then be seen as child porn?
Well, the other...
You know, or if a boyfriend sends a picture or a girlfriend sends a picture and the alternate parents see it, you know, I would see that.
I'm going to say this right now. My understanding is that even if it's consensual, even if it's like normal sexting, it's still treated as child porn, and the minors have actually been treated as child pornographers in the legal system.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's why I don't think there probably is child porn. I think that most likely got filtered out prior to going into the main database.
My understanding is
if they expose it publicly, do not assume they have the technical chops to filter out images.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Do not assume they have good AI image check for that.
I would be wary.
I'd stay far away from this situation.
Now, if this is something you truly want to do research on, you can get that email address I mentioned back from right after B-Sides. The guy from the FBI has been shopping around, going to HackerCons and saying, if you're doing research and you aren't sure we're going to go after you, please email this address and we'll tell you, et cetera, et cetera. One of the examples he gave as an instance to email them about was if you wanted to do research on, well, the example he gave was the dark web or Tor, and scraping information, you're inevitably going to get child porn. Yes. And so he said someone was able, who was planning on doing that kind of research, not specifically looking for child porn, but just Tor research, got in contact with Russ, and he directed the person to whoever was in the head of the correct unit at the FBI to work with them to make sure there wouldn't be any investigation into that individual.
Mm-hmm. Liz, you accidentally name dropped him.
That's fine. He's public about this.
Okay, fair enough then.
Yeah,
I have a friend Bob who's doing research on like Tor network and so forth, and and you know they just happen to see a picture of themselves of an article they wrote right next to some CP. So it's like, how do you research this without accidentally Yeah.
The only thing he asked is not to give the email publicly, as once it's public, it'd probably be flooded with a lot of useless crap, among other things.
Oh, okay.
So I can vouch for the FBI guy in question because he's a decent guy. Oh my God, my team just killed the hostage. What the fuck?
Leroy!
It wasn't me. I was setting frost traps.
Another thing to consider as well in terms of them filtering it, this was 3,000 containers. That's a lot of crap to filter out.
Yeah,
that is.
And it's even at the time of posting this, I don't know how long this has been. Does it say when it was disclosed? Or like when it was found? It says in the last 18 months, hackers have breached 8 companies. That's something completely different. Nope. Yeah, so you see this dump, I probably would stay away from it.
Yeah, you gotta treat it like. Go ahead.
Yeah, unless you do what Liz is saying and like, hey, and tell feds, hey, I'm not actually looking for this. This is for research purposes, and if I find anything, I'll tell you guys.
Yeah, unless I had FBI blessing on that, I would not touch that dump. The only thing I might touch is SQL dumps from that dump, and even then, if there's any pictures, fuck that shit.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to treat it like a clickjack. You know the clickjack is there, but is it really vulnerable? But you have to dig a little just to verify if it's truly.
No, you have to treat that shit like potential radioactive waste.
Yeah, they're saying if you want to research it safely, then you got to go through the extra hoops because of the risks of what content may be in there.
Okay. Once for all, here's how we treat that.
Nope.
There you go.
Yeah, ideally, just safely don't touch that crap at all. Don't even risk it.
Leave it alone.
Nope.
So, can we all agree to leave it alone?
Leave it alone.
All right. If we all agree with that, let's rock out. Let's hop into the Airways for a second.
Now, hang on. I'd like to say something. If somebody has an SQL dump from that dump that doesn't have any pictures, that I'd be okay with having. Just saying.
But on that note, we're gonna hop into the air for a second, and when I mean Air Canada for our next breach report. Air Canada app data breached. Woo!
Yeah, this was
Blame Canada. Blame Canada.
It's always Canada.
Yeah.
Okay, so Air Canada has a nice handy-dandy little mobile app. And apparently all 1.7 million users of said mobile app have had their passwords reset by the company following security breach, which saw the hackers compromise 20,000 accounts last week. So the 20,000 accounts, they say, thankfully, is just 1% of the total number of users, but the data included name, email address, phone number, account number, passport country of issuance, passport expiration date, country of passport issuance, nationality. Oh, don't forget this. The Nexus number.
The what
gender,
number?
Nexus.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Gender, country of residence, and birthday. You're screwed.
It's pretty bad.
Holy.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. Just ugly.
Like every week I say this is the gold mine. That's like they hit the gold mine. Nope, this one takes it.
Yeah.
You start, what's really nasty is when you start getting these breaches and you start correlating all the data in a graph. Oh dear God.
It's like
it's terrible, man.
You know, there's one guy there. Like, there's probably one guy who every breach report that we've talked about has been affected by each and every one of them.
You know what the worst part is?
What's that?
So many people are still fucking using MySQL to dump these breaches into, and I'm just looking at this going, bitches, if you just drop this shit in Neo4j, you'd find some interesting fucking shit. I might have to do a blog post on this shit sometime.
Do it.
How we hate databases.
No, I hate relational databases. I'm a fucking fanboy of graph databases for a reason. You never know what you're gonna find.
It's gonna break up with that relational database.
I'm okay with relational databases. It's the guys who designed them that I'm not too great about.
Well, that's where the $5 wrench comes into play.
This is a piece of it.
Y'all are off the hook.
Yeah, speaking of $5, sorry. Subway may not be having $5 footlongs much longer.
What?
Allah.
Okay, now back to the breach report.
Wait. We got a very important piece of information we need here. Why are they no longer having their $5 footlongs?
What's that on?
Because too many of the franchisees are complaining of it lessening profits. And so they're no longer going to force the franchisees to offer the $5 footlongs, but they'll still have the option to offer them. But that also means no more nationally televised commercials for $5 footlongs.
Well, they were entertaining. especially during Super Bowl.
Especially where you could put a $5 footlong.
Well, we know where they're putting the $5 footlong in the subway of the owner, the creator.
Oh yeah.
No, that he was just a spokesman. As soon as they found out, they actually were pretty good. Well, granted, on one part, they weren't good whenever they found out that he was distributing porn, and that's how he financed himself through college. And they wiped that under the rug. But once they found out that he was into the kiddie porn and all that, they dropped him, without a thought.
Look, if you're just distributing normal porn, you do you. I mean, there's no shame in normal porn, even if it's kinky shit. Especially if it's kinky shit. But when it comes to child porn, fuck that shit.
Yeah, but too, you gotta remember whenever it came to the porn he was distributing, it wasn't, above water normal porn. It was bootleg. So he was already doing something illegal there. Which they didn't care about.
Yeah, no, they cared. That kiddie porn is what, and as it should be. You're a grown man looking at little kids, and you have a problem.
Can we change the topic to something not involving that stuff?
Yeah, let's move on to the Chinese police investigating major security breach of hotel group.
Wait, you mean the Chinese intelligence service breach?
I don't know. Police.
You mean how they always go behind the fucking mirror with the fucking camera and watch the guys they're getting the fucking masseuse?
No.
A little different.
Like,
where did you go, Howie? Did they do that?
Have you ever watched James Bond?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it was Die Another Day where Bond lands where Bond escapes to Hong Kong and he's in the fucking hotel and he's got the masseuse going all over him, right? And he picks up the shoe and throws it in the mirror, and then there's these guys behind the fucking mirror with the camera trying to get blackmail info.
Oh, man. Brutal.
Okay.
Nowadays, they would just have cameras fucking everywhere. Fuck it.
There you go. Okay, so on the hotel group, Hazhu group. Okay, so these guys are massive. They own just under 4,000 hotels.
Wow.
Like, that is huge. Someday I'd like to own one, and these guys own 4,000. But, so what was stolen? They have a customer loyalty program that has 113,000 members. And I think they got data of all of them. They're advertising the data as on the dark web as being 141.5 gig of data, and they are selling it for 8 bitcoins, or at the time the article was written, $56,000. And I don't know if they're only trying to sell it as a one-off, or screw it, if you have it,
I would honestly suspect that they're selling it to anybody who can afford $56,000.
Yeah. But they didn't say all the information, but what was included was name, credit card details, mobile number, as well as, let's see, what's it say? 123 million pieces of registration data recorded on the group's official website, such as user ID and login PIN.
So
there are certain groups I could think of that would really love to get their hands on that data for research purposes.
Well, not only research purposes, but think also different espionage groups. Since this is such a huge group and they're very prevalent in the country, you probably are going to have a few politicians or big names that have stayed at your hotels, and then
Caprico,
that might be
research purposes.
I know.
Yeah, I mean,
air quotes, research purposes.
I'm not doing that. I'm just doing another.
Especially from a state perspective. Like you were saying,
yeah,
you could see if somebody was regularly staying somewhere, if they were moving between places. I mean, there's some big intelligence data here.
Yeah, not to mention that there probably is some personal information on said state targets. Then,
oh yeah.
This reminds me, I need to look at some web spec if I've been.
That's why I would think that they would say, yeah, it's 8 bitcoins worth or 56,000 because it's probably got some pretty weird names in there.
True.
Although
true.
you think it'd be higher if they knew, but it might just have like small time. I don't know. I'll have to do research purposes.
Yes, go do some research purposes. Okay, next up, we have we'll go back up to the sky again. We have British Airways. So it's all these people up north. British Airways had customer data stolen, 380,000 payment cards affected.
Yeesh.
You know, British Airways aren't only over in the across the pond. They fly essentially globally. That's a lot. I mean, it's not even just contained to one country, you know, or one continent. You know, you're talking American citizens, Europeans, probably. I mean, just everywhere.
Yep. How many people do you think go to Britain? Britain's a big hotspot.
Yeah. All of their former, you know, criminals down in Australia. A lot of people.
Qantas next.
Did you say Qantas?
Yeah. We got Air Canada and British Airways.
Yeah. I mean,
go for the trifecta.
Yeah, things usually go in 3, so yeah. They are the current debutante. But yeah, 380K cards compromised, and they have notified the police. Woo!
Yeah. Speaking of the British police, they've been having a lot of issues lately. Saw on Twitter a couple days ago.
They didn't break any billy clubs, did they?
No. It was 7. I think it was 6 or 7 officers were stabbed in a crime spree in like 2 days.
But knives are illegal.
Well, more to the point, I thought that British police officers wore like anti-knife armor these days.
That's what I would hope so, but there's not. I don't know.
The other thing I can hear is that these British cops are a little bit like the Chicago cops I've seen, where any excuse they have to take their armor off, they do so. Like I literally saw a pair of. I was in Chicago one time. At a, it was as if everyone's familiar with Kuma's Corner. It's like heavy metal and burgers. If you want a really good burger, yeah, and you want to listen to some old school heavy metal, this is the place to go. But I was there with my girlfriend at the time, and this was some years back, and a pair of Chicago cops came in, and the very first thing they did was remove their body armor and hang it on the backs of their chairs. And I was like, that's great. If you guys have a call right now, are you going to stop and take the time to put that on? I don't think so.
Ethan agrees. That's a dumb idea.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's cool. He's just contributing to the podcast.
Oh, he definitely is.
We get Simone contributing all the time.
Yes, he does.
Ethan thought that was funny.
That's my friend.
Baby.
Okay, so that is everything with the breach report. And next up, we have Adrian with Weird Group of the Week.
Looks like we got a few.
Oh, yeah. What's up?
I'm gonna stop screen sharing. Adrian is muted.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. I'm back.
Yeah, okay.
I put multiple groups because they all get conflated into the Manosphere. And the problem with looking in the Manosphere, the top articles, it's kind of like researching the Hoteps. The people who get the top billing on Google are the ones that hate them. And like the Hoteps, I hope to do in another future video. They're an interesting group. Guys I listen to on YouTube are pretty cool, but Hoteps get hugely shit on. But the Manosphere gets hugely shit on also. And all these different groups get inflated together, even though they're separate and a lot of them don't even like each other. Those groups are the MRA/MHRM. I'll just these in a bit. MGTOWs, pickup artists, and incels. Now, the military group, there's partly some crossover in there, and this might be a little crossover in all of them. But the MRAs are basically kind of first or second wave feminists, but for men. They look at certain male issues. Some of the big ones is sometimes divorce settlements, but a lot of times it's I'm trying to find this image. Suicide rates amongst men are much higher than women. Combat deaths, obviously, industrial accidents, much higher. Winner of custody, less. Homicide victims are more so. Though the counter to that is to say that, well, it's men killing other men. Average sentence by gender, men get a lot worse. A lot of them also are interested in things like circumcision, male genital mutilation. Now, they get a bad rap, partly because, well, the one person they bring up is Paul Elam, because Paul Elam once published an article saying something along the lines of punch a woman who's being abusive or something to that degree. But him physically abusive, and then right afterwards he said, "Don't do it because you'll go to jail." And apparently it was a parody of an article from, I think, Jezebel talking about women who beat their boyfriends. Most of the actual MRAs I've encountered online have been women. They're women who have sons that they're worried about, or fathers that got screwed over in some way. So that'd be people like the honey badgers, which are kind of interesting. A lot of the casts are kind of interesting to listen to. Though sometimes even them, kind of like, have you ever listened to it's like nitpicky over every little thing and they read everything into it?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes some of the honey badgers critiques of movies and so forth are kind of like that in the opposite direction. But the MRAs are basically interested in men's rights, and like I said, a lot of it focuses around child custody, and a lot of it also, some people are big intactivists. Matter of fact, you know who Milo Yiannopoulos is?
Yes, I do.
He hugely pissed off the MRA was once, who normally would be in line with him for a lot of things, because he said something about he supports circumcision because he just has to suck them.
Oh my God.
Well, Milo happens to be a gay fellow.
Still, even if he wasn't.
Yeah, but that upset some of the MRAs on him on that. Now,
oh come on, Milo is Milo. Then
there's the MGTOW, and there's different degrees of MGTOW. Like, I've seen people whine about the MRAs being misogynistic, and I haven't heard that. They don't seem to like feminists much, but most MRAs I know of are women. At least the ones I've listened to are on YouTube. Now, MGTOW is a little different. You have different degrees of this. MGTOW stands for men going their own way. And basically, like I said, those degrees. So people who are more like Aaron Clary, who's a guy who gives some financial advice, and his thing is, put your career and finances first. Look towards women later. Don't look for a woman to complete your life. But he's not one of these people that stays away from women. He's got a girlfriend and all that. He just how do you say, he expresses the idea that there's more in life than women, and there's other things you should be focusing on. Then you get to people like Turd Flinging Monkey. He's a MGTOW also. He's somewhere in the middle of this. There's some real misogyny there. He definitely has a problem with women. Though it is amusing when you see a solipsistic article written in Jezebel and he tears it apart. That can be entertaining. One thing that gets me about both those MGTOW is, oh, by the way, Aaron Clay would call some of the later MGTOW Virgin Tao, because he thinks that they're not actually going their own way. They just can't get laid and they want to find a justification for it.
Yeah.
Then, then like I said, both him and Turd Flinging Monkey are big into economics and investment. It seems like a lot of the stuff is on that as well, and actually some of the financial advice is pretty good. Then you have crazy people like Angry MGTOW, who just comes off ranting and insane. He's a little nuts. Now, there's about me some MGTOW that are pickup artists also, though a lot of MGTOW don't want to have anything to do with women, period, because they see it as a possible way towards financial ruin if there's any kind of accusation against them. So they just avoid, some MGTOW would avoid relationship with women at all. Like I said, the beginning end of that, Aaron Clare and such, they would associate with women. But some of the other MGTOW would not at all. So they couldn't be pickup artists. But there was some crossover. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just had a perfect idea for who should have been in this conversation in the first place for this part of it.
Who?
Wes McGrew. It would be hilarious, and you know it.
He wouldn't understand any of the shit because he's probably only has a knowledge of this stuff from reading a Jezebel article because he's trying to get in some girl's pants.
Ow.
Dude, his photos from DEF CON are kind of creepy. Just throwing that out there. All right.
I don't know. He's a good photographer. It's just his subjects need a little bit of improvement.
Oh, shit. All right. I don't know if that pickup artists are basically about getting men laid. Sometimes it's also about, setting up a relationship. But a lot of them do seem to be about getting laid. And some of the pickup artists and so forth, let's say like Roosh V, have expressed very negative things about MRAs, and MGTOWs have expressed negative things about MRAs. Because at least from the MGTOW perspective, they see the MRAs as fighting a worthless battle. It's just not worth doing. And so they got to get made fun of as simps for that. Also, another thing about the MGTOW, I get people accuse them of being alt-right because they use the term cuck from time to time. A lot of people use the term cuck. And as far as racism and so forth, there's plenty of black MGTOW out there if you go looking through YouTube channels. And the white MGTOW, I've only ever heard them express sympathy for black men because they do seem to have an idea that black men have it worse than white men. At least that's the impression I get from people like Turd Flinging Monkey. In
a way, real honestly though, we do get a lot more strife than white men, but again, and that's just the way. The country built on. But at the same time, we, like as a culture, just have to start. You have to make it in spite of. Yeah, there's white supremacy all over the place. And people, and not just men, not just black men, but just anyone that's not like the white supremacy. So again, it's a little bit, it's a different structure. Just like it's even worse for black women in some industries because not only are they black, they're also a woman, which is even tougher. So it just like I said, it just depends,
But what I'm saying is people accuse the MGTOWs of racism sometime, and I'm like, everything I've ever heard about them, well, all right, they seem very sympathetic toward black men. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Because of relationships, because they see black men as having a harder time in relationships than they see even white men as having.
It's true.
And then people like the incels, which I haven't done enough research in. I've seen a bunch of hate articles because there's a couple of murder incidents over the last few years that involve people who have been part of, I believe, incel groups. Mm-hmm. The one dude up in Canada here, a couple months ago.
Wait. Incel groups or incel cells?
Incel groups comes off sounding better. I'm going to use incel groups. Like Elliot Rogers is a person people bring up examples of, and they talk about his rampant misogyny. But really, Elliot Rogers, if you actually look at who all he killed, he has actually more of a racism towards Asians. Because if you read some of his writings, he seemed to hate his Asian. He was half Asian, half European origin and heritage. His dad was a white guy. And read some of his stuff, he seems to have hated his Asian side. And he actually killed more Asian men than he did women.
Who?
Elliot Rogers.
Who the fuck was Elliot Rogers?
Yeah, man. I wouldn't tell you to Google it. I don't know what to tell you. He's a guy. He was very effeminate. He actually wasn't a bad-looking guy. My statement on the whole incel things is there's no such thing as an incel. Only people not willing to go ugly enough early enough.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, he was very he was actually not a bad-looking guy. He was just very. He came off very weak. Let's put it that way. And he ended up losing the shit because he couldn't find the kind of girlfriend he wanted. And he
thought he deserved the attentions of women because his dad was wealthy and in the film industry, and he drove a black BMW, and he was a gentleman and all this other stuff. And he just he fundamentally didn't understand the psychology of women, of what women actually find attractive in men, and never tried to work towards that.
So he suffered from Weinstein syndrome.
To a certain extent, I think, I think there might kind of be well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to go that far, but yeah, he thought he deserved what really was something that's ultimately freely given from the women's side.
Right. So did Weinstein and Bill Cosby.
So I'm just going to say this right now. Guys like that. I can't say this without sounding like an asshole, so fuck it. Can we just round them up and put them in a camp?
If you know who it is, dude, I'm not going to go to that because a lot of these people just who are these intel forums are just people who want to commiserate with other people who are lonely and sad and all that, which is probably not the best.
I'm not talking about incels. I'm talking about that guy in particular.
Well, he ended up killing himself. Most of these people, I think the guy in Canada did get caught and get put in jail, as I recall. But as I recall, Elliot Rogers killed himself. But I don't know if I even put these in the whole Manosphere group, but I know some office certainly will. That's the one problem with some of these groups is number one thing. If you listen to their own words, like on YouTube videos and articles written, it's a little different. Like there's a website called Return of Kings, which is kind of a pickup artist site, kind of a MGTOW-ish site. Somewhere.
What's it called?
Return of Kings.
Mm.
And you could say that some of the articles might have some smackings of misandry in it, but well, no misogyny, but no more so than like Jezebel. Basically, Return of Kings is Jezebel for men.
Oh my God, we can't have that. That would be horrible.
So that is these groups roughly, without actually listening to some of those stuff on YouTube and so forth. You really don't get a good feel for them. But as far as like people to listen to that I find interesting, the Honey Badgers, as far as MRA stuff, is pretty good. And I think most of everything they say is reasonable. The MGTOW stuff, like the Aaron Clay stuff on financing and looking after your own interests and your career options first and women second is probably a good thing. But then you have Twiddling Monkey, which definitely goes into the territory of misogyny. But can be interesting to listen to him tear apart an article from the exact opposite side. By the way, the MGTOWs hate being referred to as male feminists. They really don't like that. Then there's people, like I said, angry MGTOWs, just fucking nuts. Pickup artists, I really haven't listened to a whole lot of pickup artist stuff. I remember seeing, though, some video from Roosh V, and Roosh V just comes off as weird. I mean, he had this one weird thing about how to hover and how to flirt, and it was like very cringy video. Oh, by the way, Roosh V, if you look around, Google him, he looks a lot like Johnny Christmas. I shit you not. He looks
can confirm.
Oh,
are you sure it's not actually Johnny Christmas?
I'm pretty sure it's not. Have you actually looked up? Have you looked at what he looks like?
No.
Let me see if I can get my share to work.
Oh.
Should be working. Present to everyone. All right. Yeah, this is Roosh V.
Yeah, not Johnny Christmas, but same hairstyle and shit.
But when people write up articles, they conflate all these groups together, which they really shouldn't. And I see someone's typing in the notes, adding stuff.
Hey, Adrian, I hope you saw my Twitter DM.
I'll have to go check it out in a second. But yeah, that's pretty much the groups I want to talk about. Any questions? Anybody got any comments?
Well, I gotta look some of these people up. I definitely do, and do some more research. But yeah, this sounds interesting. So I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this link to one other person. AP Delici. I don't know how to pronounce that name properly. Interested in joining.
Adrian.
Yes.
Speaking about the pickup artist stuff. About 2 years ago, I had a person who was actually a girl who you and I both know. She was trying to teach me social skills, and she tried to use the pickup artist stuff as a means to try and teach me how to talk to women.
Yeah, I've actually had one woman recommend to me some of the stuff from some characters in the pickup artist industry. And like I said, some of the pickup artists actually seem interested in helping men find and get relationships. Some do seem to be just interested in helping men get laid. Probably somewhat interested in books.
She was suggesting Mystery Myth, Mr. Mystery, and Mystery Method, and shit like that is what she was suggesting. And Neil Strauss.
My suggestion is, and granted, I've gained a lot of weight since working from home, lose weight, get in good shape, and be the person that approaches. But don't push it too hard, because in this day of age, that would get harassment charges. Never a coworker, of course. But get in good shape, and don't expect women to approach you. You will likely have to approach them.
But in all honesty, nothing gets you something. Like, your personality will carry you a long way.
Right.
Now, sometimes it might carry you in the direction of, like I said, for the longest time, I was always in the friend zone. I was just a fun guy. But I was cool to hang with, but just not sleep with. But you know, so it could carry you in that direction as well too. So,
but, I do know that there were a lot of MRA types around at the beginning of Gamergate, which is they kind of flooded in after the articles from feminist outlets started vilifying Gamergate, and then suddenly we had a bunch of these people saying, "Welcome to MRAs, welcome. Here's our old," and started pushing their politics. But to be entirely honest, they were kind of pathetic, and like they didn't really have a plan to do anything at all other than complain. Unlike the alt-right people who got involved later. They kind of stopped pushing their stuff when people told them to fuck off enough times. And they did come across frequently as wanting to essentially replace feminists in a lot of their advocacy. They wanted to copy a lot of the tactics in trying to fight feminists. As it was, they were very, very, very much so focused on being against feminists. Many of them were, if not most.
That's a lot of what Honey Badger Radio talks about as well. But then again, they also see feminism as being something that pushes certain laws in place that hurt men. Like, well, the way that Title IX has been pushed to in schools, where the burden of proof falls into innocent.
And I do know that some of the alt-right people are now targeting the MRAs just for shits and giggles, because they're organizationally just don't do anything. And they figured they're so easy to provoke and without any consequence that they're just fucking with them more and more these days.
Well, they do try to organize things for like awareness and so forth, but how much awareness is worth is a questionable thing. I know, though, I think there was some kind of men's rights get together in Australia where Antifa came to protest them, which is fucking asinine.
I did ask a few like feminists who seem to be open to discussion about why they oppose the MRA so much, and the bottom line the answer I seem to get is because they come off as their archetypal enemies, not because of anything they say or do.
It makes the conversation about anything but the feminism.
Yeah, a lot of them do focus almost exclusively on that.
Admitting that those places where men have it worse than women is, antithetical to some feminist worldview.
Have you ever dealt with the different phases of feminism, the different generations of it?
First generation, second generation, third, but there's been crazies throughout every generation.
Absolutely. No question that there's crazies regardless. But when it comes to goals, they're different. They're sincerely different.
Yeah, I know there's been some rough definitions of them. Like first grade, people say we're mostly about the vote. Second was mostly about job equality. Third is about, whining and blaming other people for all your problems and not taking any responsibility for your life. Like
exactly. Ostensibly, third is meant to be cultural equality in their views. They want cultural output to feature equal for men and women.
The problem is some MRA groups, and you can get hung for saying this. Some MRA groups have a point. They have some legitimate points and they have some legitimate gripes, but they're so small and so minor that they get drowned out by the pundits. All it takes, you've got 5 guys that have a legitimate point and 300 feminists that are saying, "Oh, so you enjoy rape then?" And you can't really. It's hard to say anything MRA without getting shot down or getting put into a Kafka trap.
Like I said, they're the archetypal. They're the archetype of everything feminists hate. They are the people who want to become the patriarchy. So They oppose them. They oppose them because of the name, not because of anything they really do.
That's not always true, though, because a lot of times MRAs are out there and they're saying, hey, we want more rights in divorce. We want more rights to our kids. We want child support to be pre-tax, or we want child support to be tax deductible. And these are perfectly reasonable things. But when you stand up and say, I am MRA and I want a tax break for the child support I'm paying, oh my God, you hate women and you're a rapist and you're patriarchy and da-da-da-da. And next thing you know, you're buried in shit.
Yeah.
And your legitimate claim, your legitimate stance is completely lost.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was saying. Why a lot of feminists oppose them. It's not because of what they're saying sometimes, but because of what they, in their minds of many feminists, what they represent.
Oh, here's a tweet. I don't know if y'all caught this one. Some Australian politician named Tanya, what is that, Hilberseek? She was complaining. Was it?
Hilberseek.
Okay. A person with a certificate free in early childhood education, where about 98% of the workers are women, earns around $20 an hour, when someone with a certificate free in metal work earns about $40 an hour. That is gender-based discrimination. You realize metal work is a hell of a lot more dangerous and probably requires more skill set. And yes, I know it's hard to be a parent and so forth. Someone doing early childhood care education is not necessarily being a parent. It is an easier job.
Well,
I know some female metal workers that have put that to the test.
Unless you hate kids. If you don't like kids, I suppose metalworking is probably easier. But what was that?
Hey, I'd date a female metal worker any day of the week.
Yep.
I used to.
I just thought this tweet was like,
well, the whole thing is,
of course, someone who's a metal worker is going to make more.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not comparable.
This is not a feminism, kind of thing. This is more of a vocational versus other, a typical job. A vocational job, you're going to make more money. You're going to make more money swinging a hammer than you are swinging a pencil at a desk. That's just been a fact of life forever.
And that's also a risk thing, I would assume, too, because you're going to have more life-threatening accidents working at the metal job than you are working with kids, unless all of them decide to murder you with a knife.
That's why oil workers.
No. You're raising the next generation of Jason Bournes, so all the kids have to learn how to kill people in their sleep, and all the kids also have to know how to kill people and make it look like an accident. That's why it's so dangerous.
And then 2/3 of them are unvaccinated, so they're gonna run around backwards, hit their pants, and next thing you know, you've got a sniff of herpes.
But keep that in mind. The risk often does pay well. Like, for example, consider oil working is an extremely dangerous job. It's one of the top 5 most dangerous jobs in the country, and they get paid like $300,000 a year.
Yep. Or you go out and work on the ocean, and the oil rigs out in the ocean.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Those guys make $250,000 plus per year, with like heavy on and heavy off. So they're there for a couple weeks and they're off for like a month, and they get paid so much because, again, so dangerous, such skill required.
Yep.
That goes back to that whole stat I pulled up about, and oh, great, I have to find where the stat came from. But like, what was it? 90-something% of workplace fatalities are men. Yeah, it looks like 93% on wherever they pulled this data from. Though, damn it, when they resize an image and they make it so small you can't actually read the sources. That sucks.
Yeah, Adrian. I have to say, if you know any metal worker women, make sure you respect the fuck out of them.
You want a sugar mama, don't you?
Actually, no. Realistically, you know what I want? I just want to make my bones say fuck it and retire on a goddamn beach in a third world country and not have to deal with any of this bullshit anymore.
Well, be careful about that, because in a third world country, you're going to get invites to the local stonings and stuff. Hey, you, men on the beach, grab some rocks. We just caught a hooker. Okay. I mean, when you say third world country, you got to think about that for a minute.
I'm talking Southeast Asia, where the hookers are kind of normal.
That's not third world, though. Southeast Asia, the hookers have business licenses. I mean, they're actually respected out there. There's a really great money-making deal right now. I mean, if you're willing to take a little bit of risk, go to Thailand, front some money to a transgender hooker who buys a bar and runs the bar for you, and you take X% of the profits. and you get all the sex tourists in there dropping their money left and right, and all you have to do is bounce out of the country every 90 days because you can't stay there permanently.
Ta-da!
This sounds like something you've thought through.
Actually, there was a documentary on it. I was going through Amazon Prime Video, and I'd gone through all the good stuff, so I was digging through the dregs of it, and there was a documentary on people who have done this. And yes, I did look into it because it's a hell of an investment. I mean, think about it. Hookers and alcohol in Thailand, that's bank. The only problem is unless you can't own the business and you can't live there, so you got to be careful of who you partner with, otherwise you get ripped off really easily.
You have to make sure they're good bedfellows, is what you're saying?
No, business partners. Bedfellows is a whole other ball game. That's up to you. You got to, if you're going to go into business with somebody, for God's sakes, do it with somebody you can trust.
No shit.
How common is sex traffic, or the sex traffic? What's the terminology I want to use? Sex tourism over there.
Very. It's so common that when you start to open a business, they talk about a thing called the T tax, which is basically the kickback to the police to not bust you. I mean, we are prudish here in the U.S. by comparison to a lot of other countries.
True.
A lot of other countries, they openly, sex trade is like, yeah, fine, you go see the doctor, get your card, here's your license, knock yourself out. And here in the U.S., it's, go sit in a trailer in the middle of Pahrump, Nevada, and good luck to you.
Yeah, I've heard that also affects things like, gay pride parades, my understanding, are massively different in the U.S. versus Japan. Like,
yeah.
Japan, they're more demure because they never really had the same stigma against homosexuality. So you have a gay couples walking with hand in hand, doing just a parade. In the United States, you have people twerking all over the place and dressed as leather daddies.
As a culture, Japan handles stigmas differently. Okay, in Japan, if you're gay and your family disowns you, you go into your bedroom, shut the door, and cut your guts out with a katana, and that's the end of it. It's very quiet. It's more respected to commit suicide than it is to come out. So you got to expect it's going to be more demure there. Now out here,
I was on the impression the Japanese are pretty accepting of homosexuality. Are they not?
They haven't. It depends on how you look at it. It depends on the family. Homosexuality in general has been frowned upon until I would say the last 20 years. The last 20 years, there's been some major advances in acceptance, and it's become so common that you see movies about it now. It used to be, in the 60s, the 50s, 60s, whatever, so-and-so was a homosexual. It was a guy with a beard and a dress running around killing somebody. Now it's, the couple next door that drive a BMW and you see them at the bingo night, The whole attitude has changed culturally.
Okay, because I thought they were always a little bit more tolerant. Because I remember seeing like paintings and shit from like the 19th century of like gay couples and stuff.
That's been part of art forever. I mean, Greek history is full of that shit. Roman history is full of that shit.
But both Greece and Rome were very, very accepting of homosexuality.
Yes,
it was encouraged almost. Actually, it was saying you had two spouses. You had your woman who buried your children, and you had your man who was your partner. That was kind of the thing back in the Greek days.
And hell, I mean, our current political people are all about that. I mean, every other congressman's got some little boy taking it, and every time there's some gay, there's some gay prostitute scandal, it always seems to involve a senator or a congressman, almost always.
Those are the only people, or a fucking priest or some shit.
That's been going on forever. We just, recently have decided that, the world won't come to the end if you say fuck the Pope,
I know, right?
We've got Sinead O'Connor to thank for that.
Okay. Well, hey, wait a second, though. The Pope is a little old for me, I'm just saying.
Well, everybody has their tastes. Everybody has their tastes, okay? I mean, what's that Rule 34? If it exists, there's pornography about it.
It's true.
I know, Jesus fucking Christ.
No, that's a paradox. Oh,
But
come
it's
on.
also a Rule
Tell me
34.
You're supposed to laugh at that one. Jesus fucking Christ. Wow, that's a paradox, you know? The thing is, I mean, come on. Go online and put in any sexual act in Google and you'll see a video for it. And I mean that openly. I mean, you can find videos of almost any kind of sex act except animals. You got to go to, you got to go to Tor. You got to go to Tor for that.
Yeah, like
you got to open up your Tor browser, and then you can find that shit. But I mean, you see Granny and the Tranny, and My Neighbor the Pizza Guy, and yada 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 yada.
I think docking and nugget porn.
No.
Docking.
Have you seen Brazilian cake fart porn?
Oh God.
I'm assuming people just farting on cakes.
It's Brazilian women, hot as hell, sitting in a cake and then farting.
Sitting in a cake?
In a cake. You put a cake on the table, and she puts her ass into the cake and smushes the cake, and then rips one.
I don't get the scatological stuff.
Wow.
This isn't scat. This is gas.
But I also saw. I've never seen one. It was like what was it called? Asshole movies or something like that, where people would pour pictures of.
That's easy. You want the most popular one version of that? Look up macuser.jpg.
No.
Oh God.
Now I hate to say this, but I'm the one responsible for that. I'm the one who, like, 15 years ago put out macuser.jpg because I was pissed off at a bunch of Mac users that were giving me shit about my Crashintosh. I had a Crashintosh right before OS X came out, and I just dumped all this money into it. I got Pro Tools, I got all the RAM, I got all the external shit, and the thing just died every other 5 minutes. It went down like a Bourbon Street hooker during Carnival. It was just like bang, 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 bang. And these Mac users were like, well, you just don't know what you're doing because Macintosh is a superior machine. So I threw out macuser.jpg. And some of you were probably already Googling that.
Yeah,
is this like a parody of like hello.jpg or something?
Not really. The reason why I did it was because I found that picture, and if you look at over the guy's shoulder out the window, you can see a limo. And I'm just like, there's this guy doing what he's doing in the picture, and he owns a limo, and he's got the typical Macintosh glass desk and high back leather chair and Super Tower Mac and, well, everything else he's doing. But, you know.
Now, quick question: does anyone know what? I assume you do, but anyone else know what hello.jpg is?
That's an ancient one. That's a meme.
I mean, aside from you, and does anyone else on the stream know what that is?
I'm not sure I do. I'll go Google.
Nada.
Are you saying hello or hi to you?
It's hello.jpg. That's Goatsy. That was the image.
Oh yeah.
Hello.jpg. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There was also HAI #2 to you. Hi to you is the other one.
Yeah.
I specifically remember a JPEG which had a shit ton of tools stacked in it back in the old Dramatica days.
Ooh. I think
Not that I would trust those tools, but you know.
I mean, One Man, One Jaw is the one that kind of interesting because he has scars over his legs, so you know he's done that shit before, and he's not screaming or anything. He's just demurely picking out the pieces of mason jar. It's like, wow, that is some pain tolerance right there.
it's a different world, you know. And the thing is, we've kind of lost that extremism now. I mean, you don't see stuff like that anymore. I mean, you know it's out there, but you know, I wrote a song about Mr. Hands, for God's sake.
Oh yes, Mr. Hands.
I'm just gonna say Hans gets the Flammenwerfer.
No, not that Mr. Hands. The other HANDS, not HANS.
Yeah, I actually got a little bit. We can talk maybe more about that later on in the oh crap, Articles 11 and 13 thing that's much further down. But all right, that's enough of I guess the Manosphere thing. Let's go ahead and vulnerability of the week. What do we got here?
All right, so we've got Apache Struts 2. It's another code execution, remote code execution vulnerability, which
Struts
comes
again.
with which comes with a nice little proof of concept, which is provided by I'm forgetting his name, Hook S3C or Hook Vapor on Twitter. Very nice Docker thing, which I will show you guys how to use. And kind of
this guy sounds to me like a real hooker.
Yeah, I don't know. To each his own. Essentially, what this does, kind of high level, when Struts is using an action, it needs that specific namespace. And if a namespace is so, like a namespace would say, like your folder structure, like I want index of superhero as they have here. Whoops. And then I just lost it. And then you would have your action. If you don't specify it, it goes to whatever is the default users. So whatever user is that user namespace. So whatever user is running the server or running that struts program, then you have that action running in that namespace, which is how you have stuff like this, where if you wget it, which I will actually do because I have it set up. So let me just switch over to my PowerShell real quick. There are a couple of constraints that you need to add. So I don't think it comes with this by default anymore, which is good. This is an older version, and those versions are in the article as well. So main things were this struts.mapper always select full namespace, which lets you access the user's namespace. That is the main thing that is the issue here. So I'm actually going to back out of this real quick, and then I'm going to exit one. And then what you can do is you can just curl, which I believe is localhost 8080. Oops, that's not right. Hang on. Demo gods, no. There we go. So what you can do here, why are you not here anymore? That's fun. All right, I'm going to switch back over to the video because now my commands don't work. This is great. All right. So what you can do is via the remote code execution, you can say run ID. So this guy is running the ID using URL or the URL encrypt. And actually, no, this is the shell. So without giving it a namespace, he's able to get code execution on the box. So by saying an easier example of this is right here. So if you were to put in localhost, actually I can do this. Localhost 8080, which is what the box is running on in his configuration of the proof of concept, run the 2+2 command and give it that date action, you'll actually get back this equals 4, which he does not show. But then you can also run things like, okay, let's get ID back, which he shows here. And I did have this working before until the stream, so demo gods hate me today. That's okay. But yeah, so, and you can also get, if you spend enough time on it and write the remote code needed, and I think you need to write it in Java, which I think he writes up here for you. You can then get a reverse shell back to your machine through this. Great. Hopefully Equifax doesn't have this.
So I'm just going to say this right now. Has anyone ever considered just fucking mass exploding struts and seeing what happens?
That's what... you'd think they would have done that. And I think that's probably how Equifax got pwned in the first place. People were just seeing like how many boxes can I like exploit with this, because this is a big vulnerability, and then looking later to find, oh wait, this is Equifax, holy crap, this is the mother load, and then we know what happens after that.
Well, you expect somebody to go all Fight Club on that, right?
Oh, Dimkeys in the chat has a question.
Yo.
So I figured that this would be a good place to ask. In 2018, other than Visual Studio Community, what else can we use to compile C source code on Windows? A lot of stuff I found seems to be old.
C, like just C.
It says C. That's all he says is C.
So I use Visual Studio Code and I use Clang LLVM for stuff like that.
Yeah. I think JetBrains might have something for that as well, but they're expensive if you're not a student.
Is Bolin still in existence?
Is what still in existence?
Bolin.
Yeah,
I
they don't do
know.
much. Yeah, they're still around. They don't do much anymore.
Okay. They used to have some cool shit back in the day, like Delphi was pretty cool. It was basically Visual Pascal.
Dude, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Pascal, yeah. It was popular as a teaching language, for a while in the I think the 80s or maybe early 90s. But
yeah, my dad was learning that back in the 80s. I was dorking around with like TRS-80 Basic Level 3, and he was doing shit like that, COBOL and Fortran and shit.
Fun fact: my university that I just graduated from has a COBOL class.
You still people have to maintain old code. Actually,
it's still popular, and don't knock it too hard. It's like mainframes.
I'm not knocking it. It's just it's really funny to me. It's
like late 90s.
That was in a conversation I was having earlier today. Somebody like, "Hey, nobody's hacked my mainframe yet."
Let me.
I know we can get a guy who.
Oh yeah, I know. It's like
we didn't talk about it much other than like Soldier of Fortran.
How about,
I know that's who I was thinking.
Let me just DM Biggie Smalls real quick.
TSO ACF. Have a nice day.
Yeah, let me just DM Biggie Smalls real quick, and we'll see how fast that happens.
Well, I mean, I haven't even dealt with a mainframe since I worked in medical shit.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. I'd like to look at that. Hopefully,
it's used a lot in the financial world for batch processing because
it's super fast.
Yeah, nothing beats it. I mean, it's 30-year-old tech, but nothing modern beats it.
Yeah, and unless you bastardize it in order to talk to modern machines, I don't think you're going to find an easy way to hack it. I mean, you'll find stupid stuff like people who do security 300% wrong and stuff like that. But unless you really bastardize it in order for PC users to get through to it. When was the last time you saw a 3270 emulator?
You want to bet we can find out who can make one?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can get Putty to do it. I'm sure, but like I remember when was it Secure CRT or something like that? That was the shit. Everybody wanted license keys for that shit because it could handle all the different. You had like 300 different emulators in it, and half of them were for mainframe.
Yeah, I remember the last time I used one of those emulators. It was at school because the old system you had to register at IU through. I used it. 3270.
I think there might. No, that's running Linux. Never mind. I was going to say I think I had a similar machine at my university to what Adrian was talking about, but then I'm like, no, that was running Linux. Nope, that's not a mainframe. That's just a huge server.
I just had an idea.
Go for it.
When you say that, just say your idea instead of announcing and taking a long time to say it. What's your idea?
I just want to say congratulations.
So I just had a realization that if we just convert everything back over to mainframes, we'll be just fine. I'm serious. How is anyone going to carry around a mainframe? This is going to be perfect. There will be so few mobile vulnerabilities because there's nothing mobile in the first place.
You're forgetting that we live in a world where people turn off antivirus because it gets in the way of browsing porn. So someone is going to come along and nerf the mainframes to make them usable or user friendly.
I was about to bring that up myself. Not specifically that, but just usability itself.
And not that they're unusable. It's like they'd have to learn something other than click on the dancing baby,
Exactly. It would be a usability thing that would hold it back. That's like the only thing that would be an issue, or one of them. That would be the big thing for.
You got to have that conversation that Gene Wilder had in Blazing Saddles. But these are good people, simple people, salt of the earth, morons.
I haven't seen that movie.
It's just like, well, I can't click on the thing to make it do, and if I can't make it do, then it's a bad system. It's like when I remember working in hospital shit. I used one of these bizarre emulators, and I got the mainframe to dump data in such a way that I was grabbing it and putting it into Excel, and then I exposed like 30 accounts on the mainframe that belonged to people who were dead. And I'm just like, guys, hello. And they were like, how did you do that? And it's just like data dumping and manipulation. It's easy. You don't even have to reach into your pants to do it,
That'll fix all of our problems. Just teach people data manipulation. No more sexual harassment.
Oh, fuck. Oh, no, because they'll say that the rights of the 0 bits are more respected than the rights of the 1 bits. And then, they'll have all kinds of marches and parades. And next thing you know...
Hey, don't touch my bits.
There you go, see? Did you have permission to change that 0 to a 1? Because if you didn't, you just violated nature, or
you filthy bit flipper.
You ask if it identifies as a 0 or 1 first.
Oh my God.
Well, yeah, but you can be. So you're saying you can be a 0 and identify as a 1, and then that's how you get divide by 0 errors.
Also, you don't know until you ask, because it's like quantum computing.
And some people want a seg fault. And if you want a seg fault, you should be able to seg fault.
I want to get my hands on a quantum computer just to see how to exploit something like that architecture, because that sounds... Just the fucking assembly and reversing of that and all that shit and exploit that sounds like an interesting challenge.
We'll find a 3rd grader to do it.
The sad thing is you're probably right. It would be a 3rd grader.
Well, you got to understand, a 3rd grader right now has access to technology that we never saw until we were 17.
I know.
And
I'm going to go out on a limb and say a 3rd grader does not they're not going to be, even a genius 3rd grader is not going to understand quantum mechanics.
Oh, no, but they'll understand to push a button here and something happens, and then where do you go? Let me give you an idea, okay? About 3 million years ago, in 1987, I had a TRS-80 Model 3, and I was fucking with that thing, and I was doing hex editing, and I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. Okay, I was using the hex editor to edit sectors on the floppy disk to make the video game say "fuck you" instead of "you lose." Okay, and then whenever I screwed it up and ate some of the program, the CPU would lock up. And how I would know the ancient little Z80 CPU is I would take my Walkman, take the tape out of it, press play, and hold it up against the side of the thing, and I could hear the CPU cranking away. Now, this is 1987. You fast forward to about 6 months ago, people are like, we can now read passwords by amplifying signals leaked out of the CPU that you can pick up with the radio. And I'm like, yeah, I was doing that when I was 17. I just didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
And now that you've said all of that, I'm a physicist, and I've been following quantum computing since the mid-90s. The most common thing that a quantum computer does is collapse. They're very, very finicky creatures. Like, if you want to crash something, it's your thing. But to try to get it to actually work is phenomenally difficult.
Well, that's reminiscent of the old MSI 8080, where before you could use the tape deck to load a program, you had to sit there and toggle 01101010 next register and all that happy horse shit before you could even use the tape deck to load or store programs. And you misflip 1 bit and the whole thing folded like a house of cards.
I have seen people talking recently about using VR/AR to map audio, claiming it was a vulnerability. I'm just looking at this going, no, that's not a vulnerability. Try again.
Well, leakage isn't a vulnerability because unless you want to go all what was that shit Tempest on your machine, that's going to happen.
Tempest isn't audio; it's radio.
Yeah, well, it's radio converted to audio. You listen to it with your headphones?
Yeah, but still.
You're not sticking a jack into the side of your head.
I know. Point being, though,
Fun fact.
try again. Try harder.
Fun fact, I know a guy, he didn't stick an audio jack into his head, but he stuck a radio antenna into his skull. I mean, well, he had it surgically placed in his skull, and
Are you sure it was surgically placed and not just a fall?
Nope, surgically. Well, nope. Yeah, it was surgically placed.
Why?
Because he wanted to have his cranium vibrating with radio waves, and he has. Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I'll have to look up who he is again.
I mean, I think it was Nerva. Was it Nerva by any chance?
I don't know. Does he kind of look like the? It's like right on the it's right on like the flat part of the back of your head.
You can't miss. Nerva was a guy. He was very, very much in the scene back in the 2000 era. There was not a square inch of his body that didn't have some kind of implant. I mean, he had like the screw-in little cone-shaped metal pieces all up down his skull. Had the implants in his the sphere implants in his arms. Had the ears done. Everything. He had a PA that could set off a metal detector at 20 yards.
So here's a question for you. Do you think today's hackers are as tough as the old ones from the 80s?
Define tough.
Well, when there were no GUIs and no, it was just all command line.
You're going intellectually tough or physically tough?
Intellectually.
I think he means intellectually.
I think it's become easier to become more smart.
Right.
Okay. We could have back then if we had Google back in the 80s, you would have the kind of hackers we have now back in the 80s. I mean, it had its peak. You know, when you had the BBS era and people were swapping information. You had couriers. You had the guys, taking discs from Radium and swapping them all over the country. You know, that was pretty high tech for its time. And as that tech progressed, you were able to get better information earlier on.
Right. Because here's my thing. Like, and I've told these guys on the cast, sometimes I do miss that era. Well, that because I'm out of the era. Like I started really, like you say, like 99. So it's kind of late for me. Like I said, I got to touch the last half of phone freaking. You know, and
well, that still exists. Phone freaking still exists.
It's just been one up.
They're still out there. The thing is, they're not out there trying to bust Ma Bell. They're sitting at home with Asterisk, having their own PBX in their living room.
So they're voiping it.
Right. Well, they're doing the same old things. They're just doing it with VoIP technology. The old school people are still doing the old school stuff. They just don't talk about it. No one cares anymore because when was the last time you saw a dial-up line?
That's true, and that's the thing. Like I come from that era, and I think that because for me, like I said, I'm a Unix. I'm more of a Unix lover. Like my desktop. Like I said, it's FreeBSD. I've always stuck with FreeBSD, and I just, I just like it how. Sometimes I just like it how it used to be. Like, it was a time where like it was kind of like a secrecy, unless you knew on like IRC.
Not everybody and his brother was out there going down to the Apple store and suddenly becoming a fucking genius.
Right, and that's the thing.
Well, Apple genius is a little bit different from a real genius anyway, and a real genius is a bit different from an actual genius. I think we need some popcorn.
No, hold up. I'm saying in general, like, okay, like the average person, like Linux. I remember when Linux used to be an art. Like, you used to have to really
You had to be Mr. Miyagi to install that shit.
Yeah, you had to really understand hard disk. You had to really understand hardware in order to install Linux.
Just to install it, and forget using it. Just to install it. Now you go to DEF CON and a 5-year-old kid sits there and goes, "Watch, I can install Linux," and you're done. Exactly.
And that's why I kind of like over the years I gravitated more towards the community where it was harder, like the Gen 2s. Like I gravitated more towards the Gen 2s, and then after Gen 2 and Slackware, I went more with like I said, the BSDs, between free, open, and even net for the Dreamcast. I always spent my time in the BSD land because I just felt that even though a lot of people say free BSD is a dying breed, I don't agree. We have our core group. It's just that we don't get as much support as Linux does when it comes to hardware. But I mean, we're still out there kicking strong.
There's no reason, there's no excuse for OS wars.
Right.
It's Coke versus Pepsi. Who gives a shit?
Exactly.
If you're good at it and you like it and it makes you pee in your pants, then run it. You know, exactly. I mean, seriously. There are guys who run Twistos. Yeah, they're running Twistos 4.0 on emulators right now because they can. And you know what? More power to you. Whatever makes your EP go high, you know what? Rock it out. And
dude, you know I'm gonna rock out with my
clearly the best operating system out there. IRIX, nothing has beaten it since. If you disagree, then you are clearly a horrible human being and deserve to die. Well, that's my stance on the OS wars. IRIX for life.
But check this out.
I'm just gonna say this right now. It's clearly Temple OS is the best OS.
Okay.
It does boot up in 1 second, so it does have that going for it.
But you know what I like now? Like, for example, I use Slack and Discord, but I'm hardcore with IRSSI. That's my IRC client of choice. Mm-hmm. IRSSI, and just like I said, splitting my screens up, running in a screen session.
Oh man, IRC2 for life.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, I'm
fuck you. I mean,
I'm on Freenode. I'm on Ethernet, and Ethernet's like old.
That Ethernet's where it all started. There used to be nothing but Ethernet.
Yeah, but I'm still heavy.
Let me ask you this: do you remember Helen Rose?
Yes, I do.
You remember the USBIC?
Yes.
Oh man.
Yes, sir.
My hat is off to you, man. That's old school right there.
Yes, sir.
I was on the front lines of that war.
Wow.
Yeah, Helen Rose and I used to have naughty words back and forth at each other about her idea of punishment and banning people for life from IRC and all that sort of shit. The USBIC. I even wrote a song about it. It was so ridiculous.
Oh my goodness. But you know what? What was so fun, and even to this day with IRC, because IRC used to be the place where I used to get movies and everything. I used to use DCC to death.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's just like now, it's just like, of course, the torrents say, well, things has changed, which is fine. But I spend a lot of time at IRC because that's where I meet some cool, interesting people. Because
wait. About movies, did you guys see that people are now sharing magnet links by PGP?
No.
They are using the PGP key server to share magnet links now.
Nice.
Very nice. I like that.
So, AP, are you on Twitter?
Yeah, I am.
What's your name?
AP Delchi. APDELCHI.
Let's see. It says APD.
Yeah, hold on a second. It's kind of goofed up because I had a problem with my account a long time ago. It's A_P_DELCHI.
A_P_D.
Yeah. A_P_ and then DELCHI.
DELCHI.
Hey guys.
You might want to IM me because this thing's not showing up in Twitter. Holy crap. Or if you can put it in the chat channel.
Hold on, I just got a bunch of notifications.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Yep,
I got a question. Has anyone else started getting involved in working on web specs?
I'm following you now.
Rock and roll.
I'm BSD Bandit, by the way.
You gotta love it.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Has anyone else worked on giving feedback to web specifications?
No, I haven't. Mm-mm.
Guess what I got into last night?
What's that?
Ooh. I'm going to say heroin.
I'm going to say web specification feedback.
Oh,
well, it was close.
Close enough.
Hey, so there's this specification that's currently in development called WebXR. Anyone who knows the first thing about me will probably figure out exactly what that specification is for. There's currently an immersive web GitHub page where they're doing the editing of the spec, and they have a privacy and security repo for raising privacy and security issues in discussion, and I'm now involved on that.
Nice.
Sounds like fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But some days I have those. Like I said, that I love everything. I love how the internet has evolved now, even though everybody thinks it's going to pure hell, which is fine. But
well, it's kind of like New Jersey, you know. I mean, there are parts of it that you never want to go to by yourself, and there are parts that are actually kind of nice.
Yeah, the parts I never want to like for example, I love the movement, like the Twitch movement. I love the Twitch Discord movement. You know, everybody's just wild and free and just don't care, putting up all kinds of stuff. You know, like the information out here is the wild, wild west still. That hasn't changed. Gathering the info ocean.
It's a beautiful thing. A lot of times you just want to find out about something, you know, as long as you're not in a room full of assholes, you can go out there and odds are somebody's going to be like, hey, I just bought a craft access terminal. I don't know what the hell it is. Who knows what it is? And like 30 guys will be like, oh shit, I got 10 of them. Yeah. That's awesome.
You know where that usually happens for me at? Ethernet.
Yep. Exactly.
So, you know, it's just and again, and
I haven't been in Ethernet in like a decade. God.
I jumped in on it a couple of weeks ago, looking for some really bizarre esoteric information on something. I forget what it was. Some signaling protocol or something, and I went back there for it.
It's always there, man. It's just even for even on one of my VMs, I have PDP-11 on a VM.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, PDP-11, 1988. 30 years ago. So I have that. I have, of course, I use Hercules for emulating mainframe stuff.
Guys, I think we can do whatever at the end. What do you say we go ahead and get with the next item in the list so we get through this century on this cast?
Yeah, sorry about that, man.
That's okay, man. It's all good. That's stuff people like to listen to too. But we'll bring it out. Anything like that.
Well, we'll get out of the geriatric ward for a minute, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The out. Oh.
Huh?
Sorry. Out in Caprico. See, there was this time called the 80s. And, it happened before the 90s. And technology wasn't as advanced as it is now. Okay. Anyway, continue. I just want to make fun of people's age. Even though I go die first. Shit.
I hear there was this really good metal back in the 80s, and I also hear that men had very long hair and were glamorous.
Some of us still are. Anyway,
that kind of thing's still around. It's just not as potent as it used to be.
I think the next thing is West Ham United. We don't need no stinking BCCs. Yeah, BCCs.
Oh, man,
what's the story behind this thing?
Oh yeah, I put that on there. So West Ham United, they sent out an email to like everyone that is a ticket holder, I believe it was. But they didn't send it out as a BCC or one email at a time. They sent out the email addresses of everybody in one massive email in the 2-line. Oops.
You know?
Well, I'm sending
A for effort.
I'm sending to a bunch of people. I generally don't do that. The one case example I do is the WCon video staff. I usually do just send it to everybody.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of internal. That is, that's a focus group. You guys expect to receive mail from one another.
Yeah, and some people want to exchange times, or they want to like figure out how to roommate together, that kind of shit.
Yeah. In this case, I don't think that's what they wanted. What'd you say, Charles?
What mailing? You said it's a DerbyCon mailing list.
It's a well, it's not exactly a mailing list. It's the video staff. You'll be getting an email here in a few days or shortly, asking which times do you want to record in which room.
Oh, okay. I mean,
everybody's email address on that, so they can, chat back and forth. Like, well, you take this, I'll take that, and
Okay. Speaking of which, I wanted to see if you could pair me with Carlo. I met Carlo.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Hackers. Yeah, because he said he's got a lot of experience.
Yeah, he's recorded with guns.
And what happened? He's what, Adrian?
Oh, he's recorded for me at a few cons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he said he has a lot of experience, and like I said, I'm always looking to learn and grow. So,
ask him about his experience with oh crap, what is that sleep aid drug that's prescription? Ambien. Ask him about Ambien sometime. He's
Ambien
stories.
Okay. Oh, he told me. No. He did tell me a story as we were leaving out from a session. We'll talk about it offline.
Okay. Yeah, he used to run a company that was like something like recovermyporn.com or something like that. And I don't know. His t-shirts were awesome. It was like this nurse that was taking like electric shock panels to like a hard drive to try to revive it. And it was like a really busty nurse. And he gave out so many of those t-shirts. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. So what's going on with this West Ham United? Let us information.
Is that a football team?
Yeah, West Ham is a Premier League Premier League football team, or soccer as it's called in the United States. And they basically gave out everyone's email that is an away season ticket holder, confirming their ticket for Wimbledon. So this, as they are European still-ish. They do abide by GDPR, which means West Ham just violated GDPR as well.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a fun battle. So that's fun. Common mistake.
Oh yeah, common. Every day.
Well, making common mistakes illegal, maybe it wouldn't be so common anymore.
Right.
CC, BCC, what's the difference?
Can't see, same thing.
Look, I came from the very cusp of the era where computers were becoming common. And I worked at a place, which name will remain what it is, and I started out there as a break fix technician. So basically, I had to go out to the far end of the facility, to some old building where the geriatric people were sitting there processing paperwork, right? And I had a call one day from a woman who said that she was having a hard time working her mouse. And so I picked up a spare mouse, drove out there. Swear to God, 90-year-old woman, your grandmother you love to death, who gives you chocolate chip cookies and not the oatmeal ones. You know what I mean?
Heck yeah.
Had the mouse on the floor and was using it as a foot pedal.
Nice.
Nice.
And it was just like, I'm going to give you a new mouse. It's a little different. You use your hand instead of your foot. Try this one. And she was all over that shit. But, she actually thought it was like a foot pedal on a sewing machine.
Nice.
So
poor granny.
Well, no, I was nice to her. I didn't go out there and see. That's the difference. Back in my day, we knew that the grandmothers that made chocolate chip cookies were the ones you wanted to make friends with, because you'd always get cookies or something out of them. You know what I mean?
Oh heck yeah.
They wouldn't give you the oatmeal raisin cookies and tell you that it's God's punishment for being a child.
You wanted to get the grandma goods. We know how it is.
Israel just casually building away his AR-15.
I told you that in chat, not here.
Well, you're doing it on camera, dude. What else am I supposed to do?
Oh, just kind of on camera.
Dude. Not that big of a deal anyway. It's your personal whatever. You do what you want.
This is my rifle. This is my gun. No, don't do that. Actually, no. Now that I just thought about that, don't do that.
This is my rifle. This is my gun. I just had to play back that scene in my head, and I'm like, oh, yep.
It all makes sense.
Dude, I saw that movie when I was young. I was like, The Full Metal Jacket. I think I was like, I want to say 12 or 13.
I lived that shit. So.
I know. I'm the one that all the young jokes get thrown at.
No, I mean, I literally went through that shit.
Oh, my bad.
I mean, I actually signed up, went out there and went through, not the Marines, but, I wanted to do Marines, but they did a background check. They found out my parents were married and they kicked me out.
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
I signed up for the Marines. They did a background check and they found out my parents were married to each other and they wouldn't let me in.
Wow.
I had to go.
You're falling for one of the oldest jokes here, man. Just letting you know.
I know, and whether or not the parents are married. And I know this one where the parents are no longer married. The other one, I think, I want to say Nathan Magnane's parents are still married, but I'm not 100% sure.
Or you say my parents weren't brother and sister. There's 100 variations to that.
Uncle Daddy.
Sister wife.
Uncle Grandpa.
Okay, I'm not touching that.
Uncle Bad
Grandpa.
It was a TV show recently. I'm not kidding. It was the weirdest thing that I had ever seen on TV.
Uh-oh.
A show called Uncle Grandpa, and I'm like, what? They're showing that it was on Cartoon Network. I don't think it lasted very long, but it was like the weirdest.
I wonder why.
Uncle Grandpa. Yeah.
You all ever read Robert A. Heinlein's I, Zombie? And it's not about the living dead, by the way.
No.
It's a great short story. And actually, they made it into a movie, which name I forget. The movie's not bad either, but they had to add a bunch of shit to it. But essentially, there's only one character in it.
Yeah.
Oh, are you talking about the Robert A. Heinlein, or it's untitled All You Zombies?
Yes.
Oh, and I saw the movie. I can't think of the title of it, though, now.
I fucked it up, the title. It's All You Zombies, yeah.
You know what I think of when I hear All You Zombies is What's His Nuts and Johnny Mnemonic. It wasn't Ice-T, but it was one of those guys in that era.
Ice Cube?
Ice Cube, right.
Yeah.
Snatch back your brain, zombies!
Actually, I think it was. Wasn't it Ice-T in that?
Ice-T was in Johnny Mnemonic, but I don't think that's the guy he's talking about.
No, it was Ice Cube. Ice-T was in the SVU or whatever that cop show is.
No, Ice-T's
Law
in
and
both.
Order.
Ice-T's in both.
Is he?
Yeah, Ice-T is the...
Who the fuck did Ice-T play in Johnny?
He played the main. He was the weird gang that Johnny teams up with to save the. I don't.
No, that's the Lotex. I thought it was Ice Cube.
That's Ice-T.
Oh, fuck me running.
First of all, I don't want to. Second of all, that'd be really difficult.
Yeah. Well, it's fuck me running up a staircase is what the actual line is.
Yeah, here's Ice-T in Johnny Mnemonic.
There you go.
Yeah, IMDb for life.
And I haven't seen the movie.
It was Ice-T.
He played a kangaroo in
Tank Girl. Yep.
Oh my God, Tank Girl.
I haven't seen it. I've heard people like it, but I haven't seen it.
It's a goddamn good movie, and it's hard to
You
come
have
by.
to see Tank Girl.
You need to see Tank Girl.
Such a fucked up premise, and the girl they got to play Tank Girl. I mean, I'm still okay. Look, I'm bonerific over Jet Girl. I'm sorry. For me, it's all about Jet Girl, Naomi Watts, but Tank Girl just knocked it out of the ballpark.
All right. Staying on track because we're getting close. We're losing time. Anyone else got anything on?
What, you got a date?
No. Just it's called the end of the cast. Just trying to keep it within under the 3-hour mark.
Oh, I know, right?
Hey, fuck the 3-hour mark. Let's just do it all night long. You know you like it.
This is not Monday Nitro.
I actually looked at like weird side note. I looked at older casts before I joined, and there was one that was like 8 hours.
Wow.
I was like, "Holy cow! Why?"
Well, I'm running a 24-hour radio station now. It's just I'm having a hard time getting people to submit their shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. DEF CON Party Radio has been on the air for 6 months now.
Oh, wow. I got to check it out.
Well, here's the thing. The current promotion is called "I'm a Hacker and This Is My Jam." And what I want people to do is put together like 1-hour mixes of what you listen to while you hack. And you open it up by saying, you know, my name is Hogleg and this is my jam. And then you play an hour of the music that you hack to, and then I get a collection of these and play them all night long for the radio station.
Huh.
Oh, man.
Oh, shit. I can have some fun with this.
Oh, yeah. Well, DEF CON Party Radio is basically, it's supposed to be about announcements for DEF CON parties and stuff. But it got popular, so I kept it running during the year. Right now, it's doing a massive Goa playlist.
Okay. Because, I mean, my music taste is insane.
That's the whole point. I want to get everybody from everywhere sending their shit in and, you know, make it a community thing.
Yeah.
I can turn it into a goth club radio station very fast.
You know, I've already run a goth club radio station, and goth is dying out. So it's you got to open it up to other stuff. I ran a goth radio show for 5 years.
Oh, goddamn, man.
Yeah, it was called Fire Walk With Me. It was on WFKU for a while, and then it was on Urban Supplement Radio for a while. And I've been doing the radio thing for a bit.
Bye.
Anyway, now we got even farther off track now.
Yeah, right.
Hey.
All right, moving on. We've got, what was this guy called? Let's look this up real quick here. We've got 80 environment technical ways to prevent users from using specific words / known passwords as a password, aka password. And this was a continuation of a discussion we had the last podcast 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Isn't there just a whole bunch of modules for everything for weak passwords? Everybody and their brother's got a weak password module now. Even WordPress has one.
Yeah, but this is more like some of these that I threw on here. They're more directly for AD. You know, because whenever a user changes their password, they have to, you know, if they do it on the in system, it has to be something that's compatible and ties in with the domain controller. So,
right, well, AD, you can still increment passwords, I think. They let you get away with that still.
yeah, but some of these things that I posted in there, and I don't want us to fully go through them, but some are pretty cool. They integrate with the DCs. You can set, I mean, one of them you can even throw hash lists against. And so if a hash comes through that's on the list, it's rejected. You know? And there's just quite a bit of stuff that you can do with some of the tools out there. But it seems like they are a little few and far between if you really want to, like, you know, break it down. I mean, you can do like standard dictionaries on a lot of them, but a lot of them
dictionaries.
Yeah, but getting down to the custom dictionaries, you lessen the pool quite a bit. And then if you want to do hashes, there's very few of them that actually will do like a straight hash lookup.
Or you can do 2FA and forget the problem exists.
Yeah.
Well, there are other options for this kind of stuff as well, but I'd rather turn that into a product than discuss it here.
By the way, I looked up Naomi Watts as Jet Girl from Tank Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes, she's yeah.
That is some serious, you know, teenage leave me alone for a few minutes moments right there.
Yeah.
And just real quick back on that, you mentioned two-factor. As far as I can tell, I haven't found any two-factor. Well, the only two-factor I've found are multi-factor. Only covers the front door. It doesn't necessarily cover your admin shares and, you know, the way that viruses and malware actually moves. So
right, agreed. I mean, we're talking about password authentication, not protecting yourself from, you know, HelloKittyVirus.com.
Yeah, but as soon as the password is compromised, they're going to automate it, and then they're going to start if they get DA. But
well,
there's still going to try some type of lateral movement.
Do people still do that? I mean, once you get the password, you get in. Your idea is to pole vault into the next level until you get root, and then you don't have to deal with any of that other shit.
Exactly. But I mean,
you're not taking your password and trying it against 100 other things. You're like, okay, I'm in this box. Now we're going to do priv escalation. Now that I'm in the box, I can download something from badguy.ru and priv myself up and know I'm root. And who gives a fuck what your password is?
Right.
Exactly.
This is more for a defensive side.
Yes.
This is more for like what blue team can do to prevent that and
help prevent.
Yeah, help prevent weaker passwords that may be in a dictionary attack.
Does that fall under blue team? Because blue teams, from what I've seen, blue team is monitoring that stuff, but they're not going down to the desktop level, making sure you have the right password and you didn't turn off your antivirus. That's why sysadmin.
Yeah, but the blue team should be influencing what some of those policies are, though, too, and not leaving it to a sysadmin who doesn't give a crap about security.
Yes, blue team should be the one setting the standards.
Yeah,
and then the ground pounders go out there and put those out there. Yes,
exactly.
That I'm down with.
Okay, cool.
Oh shit! The BlizzCon virtual tickets are on sale now.
Oh no.
Owie with a random comment. So cool continuation of what we were talking about last podcast.
Yeah.
Got a couple of them up. We've got 3. We've got SecOps, billions of leaked passwords, block them all. Is their state. We got an open source called Open Password Filter. Sounds like Simone really likes the open source.
Heck yeah, she does.
She does. No, she's looking at my Mega Man, my little ASCII art.
Nice.
Getting started early.
You know it.
She's going to be typing away on that mechanical keyboard sooner than later.
Oh, my God.
Man.
She'll be like soldering them for you and creating, like you're going to get a birthday present. It's just...
don't laugh, man. I'm the guy who does that shit.
No, I'm not laughing. It's cool.
I gave a friend of mine, her 5-year-old daughter, I gave her a Weller temperature control soldering station for her birthday.
Nice.
Wow.
That kid's going to love me forever.
Nice.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. Like, I fell in love with mechanical keyboarding, and so this is a Melody 96 keyboard. It was only 150 made, and it's brass at the bottom, so it's insanely heavy. So it's 6 pounds.
Where'd you find that?
Oh, online. I'm part of the Reddit group, Mechanical Keyboards.
Oh man, listen, I'm sitting right here next to a stack of Type M's.
Oh yeah, I love Type M.
I've got a stack of them. I buy them up whenever I can get my hands on them.
I went to university. They threw them out in hazmat. I would grab them and take them back and then keep the parts so I could make one full Model M if it was only partial Model M.
I've got one of the really stupid rare ones.
Yeah,
it's a black IBM with a clip mouse.
Some of my Model M's I think are dated. There might be one that dated 86, but I know this one's like dated 89.
Oh, I've got old ones, but I'm not rare. Like you don't see these very often.
Man, that's crazy. Because one of my good friends, because before this one, and I'm just really getting relatively new with the mechanical keyboarding community. Because before that, I bought a Corsair K70.
Oh.
And here's what's crazy. With the Corsair K70, right? I had to apply a patch to FreeBSD before FreeBSD would recognize it. Because it was an issue with the
When I was living in San Francisco, I brought my own Type M to the office. And I had all these hipster boys pissing in their diapers because my keyboard was too. That's really loud and disturbing. I'm like, well, so are you when you open your mouth.
They wouldn't have made it back in the day because that's all there was.
Yeah.
I love the IBM Model M keyboard because it is the keyboard of toxic masculinity. Yes.
You can put that thing in a dishwasher and it will work. And I say that having done it. I have one of the gnarliest keyboards. I mean, people would see pictures, photographs of my keyboard, and a dude offered to buy me a new keyboard. He's like, dude, don't even try to clean that thing.
Oh, I have audio someplace. You know those Indian scammers that call you up to try to convince you to Microsoft support?
Oh, yeah. Hello, I am to be on your computer now.
Yes. I had phone sex one day.
I just maliciously laughed, and he went, "You motherfucker. You motherfucker."
A lot. I could have phone sex with one, and one hung up on me saying, "Fuck you, motherfucker." And someone hung up with me today because I tried to shame them for scamming people. I was recording in 2013, but anyway, one of them, they told me to hit the Windows key. I'm saying, sorry, I have a Model M keyboard. I can't do that.
So tell me, how hard is it to do tech support while riding an elephant?
All right.
Tell me, are you related to a Jeet Pie?
This can go on for 8 hours as far as I'm concerned, but let's put it towards the end. So what's the next set on the list?
What's next up?
So next we've got Terry Davis died. That's kind of sad.
No, I don't know much about this guy. What is Temple OS exactly?
We've already covered this, but let's cover it again.
Yeah,
it's an operating system that was completely made by a single person. He did everything with the compiler. He wrote the operating system for drivers, everything from scratch, just him alone.
Is this the guy that has weird political beliefs?
He did it in the name of God. He had schizophrenia. He believed God had helped him create the operating system and guided the specifications. He also has a lot of videos of him being extremely racist. Also, he had a very specific hatred for the CIA. He also thought they glowed in the dark, and the only way to kill them, he also thought they were glow in the dark and were aliens, and the only way to kill them was running them over with your car.
So he was technically brilliant, but batshit insane.
He was harmless, but he was technically brilliant, harmless, and he's not dead.
I hate to say this, but was he old school racist or, year 2000 racist where anything you stole?
No. He was his own. No, he was old school, but with his own flair. I'm not saying
run over the glowing
not...
CIA N-words kind of racist.
Well, that's
He had he went beyond that quite often. I have to say that
I think
as funny as the videos.
Martian Novembers are one thing, okay? Them Novembers from Mars are going to come down here and take over our women. That's one kind of crazy. But then there's David Allen Coe.
Terry Davis was those glowing CIA Novembers. They're just CIA Novembers glow in the dark. The only way you can kill them is running over you for a car. He says they and the FBI send child sex operatives of the government to the DMV to seduce him. And that's why he hates those CIA Novembers. He was his own brand of crazy.
I'm familiar with that particular brand of crazy. It reminds me of this woman I dated back in the 90s who was a sysadmin and was thoroughly convinced that John Anderson of Yes had a new age army that had bound up with the CIA that were head out to get her because of something she had done when she was in the military. So I am kind of familiar with that kind of crazy.
I have to say, I really, really, really want to hear the first impressions of an actual employee of the CIA just listening to some of his videos. I want
the only one.
Because I want to ask them, what did you people do to him? Just as a joke, but my God.
Well, you know what it could be? It could be he had an Uncle Bad Touch that said, kid, I'm with the CIA, and you're going to get in trouble if you don't touch my pee-pee. You know what I mean?
His schizophrenia started.
He was diagnosed schizophrenic.
What was that?
I keep going back to he had a diagnosis of schizophrenia.
Yeah, it's very, very clear he had schizophrenia. And as much as funny as his videos and his rantings, make
you racist? I mean,
I don't know what his views were prior to going insane.
Paranoia and delusions are both symptoms of schizophrenia.
Right,
and I guarantee you have enough of those paranoia and delusions and shit, and then you're gonna start saying shit and believing shit.
Well,
and then you start throwing race into the mix, and oh boy.
Well, I mean, you gotta. Some of that is environmental. It has to be. Okay, so let's say you're paranoid, okay, and you got an uncle who tells you that my grandfather did this stuff to me. We go walking in the woods, and there a dead tree had fallen over and soaked up a bunch of water, and he said, "No, that's bear turds." And there's bears out here, so you better be careful. And as a kid, you get scared of bears, and then you can't date in San Francisco. So it's like the thing is, there's got to be some kind of environmental thing that sets that off. I mean, I understand being schizophrenic. You're paranoid. You're weirded out. You're scared, and maybe you have some relative or somebody that takes advantage of that, or there's something that scares you, like a scary story.
What initially set it off, but there are copious amounts of videos and social media postings of when he did tweet about it after he was well into schizophrenia, that it was just casual. He's like, if he was coding, he said it. If he was sitting down on the sidewalk doing his own shit, he said it. He said it to random passerbys. He just said it casually. It was at almost any time, any kind of environment, any situation.
That almost sounds like Tourette's.
He did also have an issue where he had no mental filter whatsoever.
I remember those days.
It's not so much wanting to be rude. It's that he had no mental filter. He talked frequently about super embarrassing things in his life.
Well, if you don't know any better, I mean, you ever see a 3-year-old kid? Hello, I just shit in my pants. I mean, if you don't know any better, it doesn't necessarily mean, And it's again your environment. You laugh at that. The kid says, "Hey, I made Daddy laugh." I'll tell him where there's the word "shit" in it.
Yeah. As funny as I found his rantings, schizophrenia it can really just shut up your entire life. It's so. It was. I hope he rests in peace. But it's
most
very tragic what happened to him.
How did he die?
I don't know.
Was that?
He went on a road trip to Atlanta, and
Howie answered the question. What did you say, Howie?
Accident.
Oh shit! Okay.
Oh, I did not know he died in an accident.
I see a lot of aurantophobia. I'm trying to think I spelled it right. I put the right spelling in the chat. Anyway, the guy was a little nuts, had a hard life. Apparently, he was technically pretty damn good. If he had been, he probably could have contributed a lot of really cool shit to open source if he wasn't,
it's all being archived now on archive.org, and you can also try out Temple OS. It's a very unusual operating system, but I think it's fun to play with.
Is the Temple OS source code on GitHub?
I don't know. I think
believe it is.
Could be.
All of it's written in a variant of C called Holy C.
Well, we need to make sure all the shit is on GitHub. I'm just saying that shit should be archived.
It's on his website, templeos.org.
Or GitLab.
If that goes down, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, he's dead. He's not going to be paying for it anymore.
There will be ways to lose the OS. I'm just saying.
Oh, it's not going to be lost. It's being archived.
Get a copy of it to Jason Scott, and it'll be archived forever.
Oh, yeah, Jason Scott was tweeting about how he's archiving everything about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And you want to talk about someone who's batshit crazy, but God bless him for what he does.
Yeah, we had a falling out a while back because I was asking questions about Gamergate that was trying to be fair and unbiased, and I got blocked.
That'll doom you anytime.
Wait.
Anytime you try to be fair and unbiased about something new like that, you're gonna lose.
Sorry, is this related to Terry Davis or something else?
No, Jason Scott.
Gamergate.
Oh, Jason Scott. Got it. Well, yeah, that's all I know about that right now. Is some activist is working with the FBI to try to get more stuff, FOIA stuff released. No matter how much I may find her personally distasteful, I hope her efforts are successful, because that whole thing is just a fucking mess 4 years later.
The funny thing is, it all seems to have died, and then journalists keep bringing quote unquote journalists keep bringing that shit up.
They use a fucking dog whistle is what they do.
Partly yes, partly some of the journalists seem to think that the alt-right started with Gamergate.
And don't forget, the number one thing you need to do is follow the money.
Well, most of it's money. Some of it is true believers, and I saw that in person at Hope.
It's all money. It's click-throughs and book deals. And if that stuff wasn't happening, this would be a non-issue.
Mostly.
If people were not making money off of this, it would not be an issue. No one would
making money off
it's a weird
Gamergate.
Yeah.
Gamergate would be a non-issue if people didn't make money off of it.
I'd like to get to that later on, but yeah,
let's save that for the end.
That's usually we do an hour. AP, have you been on before? I can't remember.
Yeah, I've been on a couple times.
Okay, I forget because I'm usually substance enhanced at the time. But I drink a little bit of schnapps or something, and then.
Oh shit! I got a bottle of. Let's see. I got this nice brand new bottle of Jack Daniel's, the Frank Sinatra Reserve.
Oh my! I need to try some of that.
It is very, very, very good.
Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey. That's correct. It's not like bourbon exactly.
Right. Exactly. It's Tennessee whiskey.
So, question. AP, do you go to DerbyCon?
Negative.
Oh, okay.
I do 2 cons basically. I do DEF CON and I do Hope, and that's about it. I don't travel much anymore. I'm old.
Hope. Last one I was gonna do it this year, but broke my foot. Frankly, kind of glad I didn't go this year.
I'll give you an idea. I was at DEF CON in a fucking power scooter. That's how old my ass is. My shit's broken from the knees down, and so I can't walk that 2-mile walk to the convention center anymore. So I just got a lance and some body armor and jousting.
Cool. Hopefully one day I'll get to it, which is a subject for another time. But this is the first year I've missed since 2009.
I've been going since DEF CON 4, I think. 4 or 5.
I've been to every DerbyCon.
DerbyCon is just I've either been on the wrong coast or the timing wasn't right or blah blah blah.
Yeah, DerbyCon up until this year has always been a problem of money or travel or whatever the fuck.
We also did some Jewish holiday because I know some of my Jewish friends have said that they couldn't make it because of some Jewish holiday. I don't remember what it was.
I need to verify something with Adrian before I say if I'm going or not. That's all I'm going to say publicly.
What? Before you say you're going to DerbyCon?
Yeah, I have a ticket. I just need to verify something with Adrian before I say I'm going.
We'll do that after, hopefully.
Yeah, like I was saying, afterward.
All right, next thing up. Articles 11 and 13. European Union apparently passed some new articles and some legislation of theirs. And the way people are describing this, I haven't read the actual laws yet. I linked to an article I partially read. I've been listening to commenters. The people that I've listened to comment are also like Brexiteers. They're not big on European Union in general. But some of the laws sound like anything you upload has to be scanned for copyright. It even means that contain material that has, like, where various countries, my understanding, have fair use laws. These fair use laws get thrown out. So if they post a meme of Pepe or something, because the guy who did the originally had Pepe, they illegally do that. Apparently, also posting links. There's also something called a link tax, which doesn't seem like a tax. As far as I can tell, it goes to the original copyright holder. You have to pay companies, like news media companies, to even link to them, and various other wacky shit. So the way people are reading this law is it would kill memes on the internet, even linking other people's content, which, my understanding, a lot of the tech giants and don't like, old media companies do like, because I got news for you. When I get my political news, I'm usually listening to commentary on YouTube from people who read other people's articles and give their commentary on it.
So, about Google and and Twitter and Facebook and the like, they'll be able to survive. They're big enough. They have large enough teams that they can create copyright. You can create content filters, upload filters, and constantly monitor it. Smaller sites without, super well experienced teams, they're going to be fucking crushed. This is going to lock in Google and Facebook and Twitter and the like, because the people in the European Union don't fucking know how internet economics work. They're saying, oh, this is supposed to fight Google, Facebook, and the like. It'll get the money away from them and over to the publishers. It's pretty much going to kill all competition for Google, Facebook, and the like, because they're not going to be able to keep up with the massive liability for non-compliance.
When you say liability, they still have to prove that it was you who did it.
Well, no, it's the website. It's not the person who uploaded the content. It's the website that allowed the content to be uploaded in the first place.
Well, did you know that there was a circuit court decision about 2 weeks ago about that?
In the EU?
In the U.S.
Okay.
I know that. I grant you, I know this about the EU, but their determination was that having just an IP address is not enough to solidify copyright infringement.
So I'm not sure how they're going to handle the link tax. If they would be, let's say, someone shares a link on Telegram or Skype and the like. I do not know if they would be fining Telegram or Skype for allowing that link to be posted, or if they would be fining the people who posted it. Based on the predictions I'm hearing, it sounds, of the consequence of this, it sounds a lot more like the company would be liable for not preventing the link from being posted in the first place. So this is going to be a clusterfuck, and a lot of the fears I'm hearing for people outside of the EU is that a lot of large tech firms tend to try to make business models that can work everywhere in the world to just lower their overhead. So they will have significant pressure to try to make things, even if they're palatable for the EU, to try to make things the same everywhere. So some of this may be ported over to the US or the UK or other places of the world as part of the adjustments in business models. And if that doesn't happen, there's also the concern that if the EU does it, they will lobby aggressively for other nations to adopt it in trade deals to harmonize, as the word is, harmonize trade policy.
And then this shit's going to fuck everything up.
So a major vote passed on the European Union to enact this, but my understanding is that there's going to be more votes in the future before it's actually law. I'm not sure. I don't know how the full dynamics here. I'm not sure if law is the right word, but effectively law. Let's say law. So I'm hearing a lot of doomsday and pessimism, but hope springs eternal. It's not over till it's over.
Let's be real about this. The EFF is probably jumping all over this shit, and well, if there's anyone that can save us in this case, I think it's the EFF.
So, no, not in the slightest, in that they will not save us. They do not have the resources. They do not have the influence or connections. The only thing they have, and it's not a small thing, is connections with U.S.-based and some EU-based social media firms to try to get them to raise a lot of awareness. And
so
I'm sure they're going to do that.
EU version of the EFF?
No, it's still the EFF, but I know there's EFF is a global organization.
EFF needs some EU contacts, then that's what they need to get.
It's not that straightforward, especially when it comes to large policy like this. Well, I'm sure they're working on it, but who knows how long that'll take. But I fully expect that before future votes happen, there will be a big push by the EFF and other related organizations to get a bunch of people to contact their MEPs in the EU to get them to vote against enacting this completely into law. And that's pretty much the only thing I can really expect from the EFF at this point. That's not to say the EFF is not doing all they can. They are. It's just that they are not as influential in politics as many people would like them to be. That's
right.
A consequence of their history and thinking that they could protect the internet without dealing with politics, and that has come back to bite them and everyone else.
So what do you, okay, here's a question. Where, like, I love how the internet, okay, as far as like politics and the internet is concerned, where do you see all this going in the next like 10 years, 10 to 20 years?
There are so many different players that are just older players getting involved. Not necessarily older as in people, although that is true as well, but also institutions that have not traditionally dealt with the internet that are now getting involved all at once. And it's very, very difficult to say. And let's say, for example, a lot of people want to preserve the ability for there to be small, independent websites. At the same time, they are becoming less, or they have become for a long time, less and less influential because of the massive centralization of social media and commerce, e-commerce. So it may be that even politics may not even be the thing to kill a lot of that stuff that people love. It may just be economics. There's also other factors such as Internet of Things, a big Internet of Things, medical devices.
Because I'm not going to lie to you, man.
There's so many big things that are happening that there's many different possible futures for the internet. My fear that I think is a non-zero concern is splintering the internet. As I am sure, as more and more,
happened, right? I mean, you know about that, right?
In very small cases, yes, but splintering, as in it is a country intranet and no longer part of the global internet.
Well, Internet 2 has been around for a while.
That's a recent thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a splinter, and someone might get the brave idea to try and do that.
What we really need is everything on I2P or something like that.
Tell me again why the U.S. gave over control of top-level game service.
So that is a different political beast. It's more so some countries have been arguing in international forums that the U.S. has too much control over the internet. We should have seized control for ourselves. We should try to create our own competitor organization that can handle domain names.
The U.S. has corruption, but you know what? I trust the U.S. way more than UN or the European Union or anybody else.
It's not part of the UN.
Because
it's not part of the UN either.
Well, the UN is the governing body for domain name disputes.
What? No.
Yes.
God, no. What the hell? No. Go to the fucking conspiracy theory. God, no.
I've seen the forums. I've helped people fight this thing before. It's not a conspiracy theory.
It's not presently governed by the UN. No. That's
where you bring the disputes to.
For IANA?
No, for the domain name.
What kind of disputes? There's multiple disputes, and it's still.
I have dingdong.com. You say you own dingdong.com. I say I own dingdong.com. If we have to fight it out to the bitter end, it goes to the UN.
I'd have to look that up.
WIPO under UNCTAD, UNCAD, and WIPO.
That's. There's a lot of different parts to that I don't know enough about the specific situation to really have an informed comment on.
ultimately, if we couldn't settle our differences, or if they're not legally otherwise settled, for example, I helped a person get her domain name back because it was literally her name, and she is a published author.
So
Okay.
this is a case where they both try to register a domain at the same time, and someone else, let's say a squatter, got it before her, and then tried to steal herself back.
It was sniped.
Okay.
But the thing is that legally, she had a legal leg to stand on because the domain name was her legal name, and as an author, that she had certain rights as an author.
So the legal name thing is still one of the most, and please not take this personally, asinine things I've heard, considering how many people have the exact same names in the world.
Agreed. There's more to it than it just being your legal name. It has to have other things on top of it. Like, again, as a published author. Like StephenKing.com, okay? You could not get... If Stephen King didn't want you to have StephenKing.com, you wouldn't get it.
Unless you tie him up. Oops.
Ooh, well, there you go. And that goes down to the Anti-Cyber Squatting Consumer Protection Act.
All right, let's see.
It's saying at the very, if we can't make a deal, if I say I'll give you 10 grand for the domain and you get it, or we do it at auction, or we find some third party arbitration, and, when you follow it all the way down to the end, that's where it ends up.
Oh, what do you know? I was not aware of the UDRP before, the Uniform Domain Name Dispute Resolution Policy.
Yep.
That's not related. So I guess that's a specific aspect of the domain name system that ICANN delegated to the UN. It's
under the umbrella of the UN.
But that's not the... So I thought the impression the original topic was about IANA being no longer being part of the Department of Commerce.
Right. I'm just saying, when you mentioned that if there were domain name disputes and all that, and I just wanted to point out that's how all domain name disputes usually end up going. If they're down to the wire.
So that's but other aspects of the domain name system, such as managing root servers and deciding who adds what top-level domains, or if domains should be monitored for copyright infringement and automatically taken down at the registrar level. Those kind of things are handled by ICANN, IANA, and the like. So my understanding of how the whole thing went a few years ago, when this was a big, oddly partisan issue, was IANA was trying to be separated from the Department of Commerce, so it would no longer be part of the U.S. government governing a key part of the Internet's global infrastructure. This was to appease critics in the international sphere who wanted to create their own competitors to IANA and effectively splinter the Internet's infrastructure. So this is to appease those critics. And my understanding of their current state is that they are incorporated in California, I believe. They're under some they're under some legal entity within California. They are no longer a part of the U.S. government.
The thing, what is actually stopping these people from starting their own internet, their own what have you? I mean, there really isn't anything stopping them.
I mean, people could always set up their own DNS servers and change what the hell that file is called. It has the host, the name is all the root servers.
Yeah, anybody can do that. Anybody can make their own root servers and build their own network.
And they can change.
All you'd have to do is go into your operating system and say, "This is my DNS server," and you're done. I mean, that's how. I mean,
well, that's
in a very simplistic way. That's how we ended up with .onion. I mean, that's a good example. There's really nothing stopping people from doing that.
So for managing the root servers, you could point to someone's DNS server that has different root servers configured. You can set up your own server if your root server is configured.
You and I can set up our own root servers and build our own internet tomorrow.
At least the domain name portion, yeah. But that would fragment. That would have a lot of unintended consequences as far as the growth of the internet. Right now, if there is a foreign government that wants to enact restrictions on e-commerce, Amazon, Google, or the like, they have a much. Oh yeah, they can do it, but it's much more visible.
But what?
It's let me better phrase this. They would have a much easier. Organize this.
I mean, China's been doing it for years.
Yeah, but yeah, China's been doing that for years, so I'm sure that
there's no stopping them. I mean,
well,
what are you
let me say that China is still
using
using
a sovereign country and say you can't do that.
My understanding is that in the international sphere, the main two lobbyists to set up a separate version of IANA away from the U.S.'s influence were China and Russia. So,
which is understandable. I mean, you've got money and you've got wares. I mean, that's understandable. But I mean, there's nothing stopping them from doing it.
There is nothing stopping them. It's just they don't want to do it because it would have an economic impact.
I could see that having an economic impact, but it depends on what your goals are at the end of the day.
Sure.
I mean, do you remember we used to have things like FidoNet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
FidoNet was when you had 150, 200, 300 BBSs that were isolated from everybody else, and they had their own little communication thing, and they would do their dial-up and pass data and all that. I mean, there's no reason why we can't do that again. There's no legal bounds that say you can't do that. I mean, right now, one of the big conspiracy theories is the Russians are down there in submarines fucking with the international cables and dicking around with the internet signals already.
That seems to be odd. That seems to be uneconomical and pointless.
It depends on what you're looking for. Forget economics. I mean, we're talking about nation-state level stuff here.
Yeah, I mean, and as a nation-state thing, that just seems to be a very costly thing to do that would mostly harm themselves.
How much do we spend on war every year?
Yeah,
I mean...
yes, but if they're trying to sabotage the U.S., I mean,
no, sabotage. They can tap it.
Oh, of course they're fucking doing that. Every fucking nation's doing that if they can. My God, I mean, they have the resources to do it.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. The same thing applies to. I mean, you could spin up your own IANA, your own Internet 2, Internet 3, AmishNet, whatever. Anybody can do whatever they want.
Hell yeah!
Well, of course, the internet was built to allow that kind.
Right.
To allow that kind of to allow that. So yeah, that is absolutely doable. Of course.
Anyway,
I don't know. To go back to Charles' initial question, I really wish I had a better answer. I know what some of the forces that are going to try to fuck with the internet, but there's so many big players. The internet can go in so many different directions. I don't see any one solid path forward that we would listen to go to.
With Article 11 and 13, though, I'm wondering, because this is European Union, but keep in mind, if you want to do business in the European Union, American and UK companies still have to apply. Not that it looks like the UK is actually, they voted for Brexit, but it doesn't look like they're really getting a real Brexit. So I'm wondering how this is going to affect US companies.
U.S. companies that try to compete in the EU are going to have a much harder time. It's going to be much more costly for them than other players, than what for other players without these restrictions or requirements.
You could almost look at it like a tariff, almost.
But the bigger players already had the money to do it. You were saying it would stop newcomers more so than it would the big players like Google and Facebook.
It would make people who use the main people who use the big social media sites would probably be a bit more miserable, but the big players would still survive the requirements. Like I said originally, small independent forums, they're not going to be hiring teams of people to create copyright filters. They even have the expertise to do that, upload filters. And there's also the matter of I heard talk, I don't know if this was lumped in with the law or not, I heard that there was talk in the European Union when they were debating this to try to lump in a requirement that if there's any terrorist content posted on any website, that it must be removed within 1 hour, or else there will be crushing liability.
Or terrorist, it's like radical content or shit.
Yes, and I hope that you, owner of a small forum, are as awake 24/7, because if you dare go to sleep and that stuff gets posted,
and I know
you're fucked.
Voted for Brexit were pissed off because the European Union, the way the people who are in the parliament of the EU, it's not exactly democratically elected. What is it? Is it nominated by the various member states? I don't think anybody knows.
I'm not familiar enough with that to say I don't know.
I know the opinion in the Brexiteer folks of the European Union is pretty fucking low.
Of course, their entire thing was fuck the European Union. It's like asking the KKK, what do you think of people who are not white?
At the same time, though, the way I saw some European Union people being all happy about the passing of this shit looks insane to me.
Most people who are celebrating it don't actually understand internet economics in the slightest.
Because linking, meaning I have to link to something, I have to pay, and someone even put forth the idea that if you copy just the title and it's enough to Google search it, that would be considered linking. And
there was talks of trying to charge people for having copyrighted content copied into RAM before it plays in your system. Separately, every time it gets copied into RAM.
Nice.
So, yeah, their whole thing was every copy anywhere under any circumstance, no matter what, was their starting premise. And it took a lot of effort to get into this, to get them away from the notion of fucking taxing a copy in the RAM.
Do you think that's a function of people who don't understand how computers work?
Enormously so, yes. It's
how long do you think it's going to take before those people die out?
20, 30 years.
I mean, out of positions of power.
20, 30
years.
I'd say
people who go into politics don't necessarily know tech. And just because someone's younger doesn't mean they really understand tech either. They may
but they understand
iPhone. That doesn't mean they understand tech.
True, but they're not going to say that it's a series of tubes.
This is true.
They're not going to say copy something from RAM to your from the internet to your RAM to VRAM to your screen is 4 acts of copying. They're not going to say that.
They might.
Put it this way.
Young folks.
Let's put it this way. You know that story you told about the 90-year-old kind of grandma person that you helped fix their mouse with? Think of that, but guys my age. Like, there have been cases where I've had to fix.
Well, there's no accounting for hipsters. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Okay,
it's more likely that younger people will have an understanding of the internet. There's no guarantee.
Right.
Statistically, it's much more likely there will be more tech-savvy people in various governments around the world as a generation gets into positions of power. That's
but who's
pretty notable.
We're talking in the U.S. We have people who make laws about the internet who think their IP address is bathroom.
I have no doubt that you are correct in that. There are some people who believe that. But that said,
I am now a believer.
It's Hollywood and various similar entities around the world. They are very much so entrenched. They're very much so politically entrenched in ways that tech is not.
Well, their focus is money. Their focus is, how do we monetize this?
And
they don't give a damn about freedom. They don't care about free speech. They don't care about free assembly. They care about free money.
And since essentially their entire existence is based off of government-granted monopolies, then of course they have the greater interest to constantly be engaged with the government to grant them a longer or more powerful monopoly. Whereas much of tech, they don't need to. When I say government-granted monopoly, I mean copyright.
Right. Well, that goes back to that circuit court decision that I was talking about, where there are companies out there that monitor what you do, and they'll give you a DMCA shutdown notice. They'll call your internet service provider and try and get you shut down, and the only evidence they have is an IP that something happened at this IP address.
That does remind me of an amusing exchange I had with someone on Twitter. I don't know if you remember the acronym MAFIA.
Oh, God.
MAFIAA?
Yeah, the Music and Film Industry Associations of America. I said that about a year ago on Twitter, just randomly referring to them. And then I had a Twitter account from the fucking entertainment industry try to like rant at me for daring to use that term. And it was most surreal shit. Yep. Like he was like when I was mocking him for litigating against grandmothers, and litigating against dead people, litigating against 5-year-olds, back when Hollywood was really active and trying to stop copyright using litigation, and they fucked up very often. He was saying those were all mistakes. And then he asked me about what my view was on fucking the Pirate Bay. So, yeah.
You know, my response would have been,
what's that?
It would have been it's a great place to get some booty.
You know what, man?
That is a good response.
Look, man.
I don't think you like my response, but I have fondness for where I came from. I have fondness for the cultures I grew up with.
And that's it, man. I mean, you know, that's all we have. That's all we have left. I love the internet when it was quiet and not many people were hip to it.
Shit. You run one torrent off of your connection and you get a DMCA takedown notice and you get your ass kicked from your ISP. Exactly. Then I sit here for the last 2 years and I pull down whatever the fuck I want off of Usenet News and nobody says anything.
Yeah, I have a bit of concern.
No, I mean,
no, I use like I said, I use KTorrent. I get some torrent sometimes. I care less what they think. There's so many different providers who I can go to. Like, all right, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a few distribution networks for torrents. I saw some descriptions of various content in the various distribution networks posted on 4chan several years back. I was surprised how thriving the ecosystem still is.
Well, have you seen seed boxes?
What's that?
Have you checked out seed boxes?
I have not.
No, I haven't.
It's an alternative to a VPN if you want to do torrenting. Big time in the Netherlands right now. Instead of getting a VPN and going from your place to through the VPN to the internet, they rigged you up a box to do all the torrenting and seeding for you inside of their data center. And then you just do an SCP from that box to your home for whatever you've done, whatever torrent you've downloaded.
Oh, I've heard of those. I just didn't hear them by that name.
$15 a month. I'm giving it a try to see what happens.
Okay.
That seems to be a little unwise to put your name next to a service that is exclusively something that you can be litigated against for.
And who said I was using my name?
Okay, then I'm understood.
At what point am I using my name? I mean,
fair enough.
Okay,
it's a company in the Netherlands. They call themselves Daddy Seed Box. You can go on there. You can use PayPal. I can go down to Walmart and buy a Visa Vanilla card and pay for it with that, and say my name is Chuck U. Farley.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, this is all one-on-one stuff when it comes to doing torrenting. I mean, unless you're going to be 100% above board with your torrenting, and you only take torrents from legitimate places like, you know, the DEF CON feeds or what have you. You know, I mean.
Articles 1113.
Yeah.
Again for vote in January to ratify it or something. Hopefully this shit gets pushed down, and hopefully if they pass it, the rest of the world goes, EU, eat shit and die.
They're too big of an economy. That's too big. Oh, I did hear it's going to strongly impact Google News. So that's probably a lot of EU news organizations are going to die.
Oh, the really big ones, I suppose.
Almost all of the EU news organizations that depend on Google News referring people to their sites, they are probably going to feel the same pain that Spain did when Google took out Google News from Spain when they initially tried to tax Google for the privilege of giving news websites traffic.
You know why I love that with Google? Because Google just let them know, like, you don't control this. We got this.
So if you're going to charge us, then we'll just take it out. And the news websites in Spain suffered enormously.
Hey.
All right. Next thing. Discussion idea. Variable college loan rate interest rates based upon major. And I tweeted this, but I don't remember adding this to the show notes. Did someone else add this?
I added it.
Yeah, Darren added it.
That seems to be iffy.
Yeah, basically the idea is, well, if you give a college loan to someone who's getting a medical degree, you can be pretty sure to go repay it. But a gender studies degree is fucking point.
Take, for example, law degrees, where people traditionally they're supposed to be high paying, but unfortunately, up until around 2008, 2009, it crashed. There was so many people with legal degrees and no hope of getting a job for a lot of them.
And a lot of people get law degrees are kind of shitty people. I love you, Prez 98, but I'm sorry. A lot of people get law degrees are shit.
So that just may be the cost of doing business for that kind of plan, but that kind of stuff would happen in that kind of environment.
And wasn't there some country that recently outlawed or just said we're no longer supporting gender studies degrees?
Yeah, that was like Sweden or somewhere.
It wasn't Sweden.
Well,
I would be surprised if it was Sweden.
It was like an entire country over there.
It was, but it was definitely not Sweden.
Yeah.
I need to go to Sweden sometime.
Sweden is the place that we arranged a fucking snowplow arrangement to be more gender neutral, more fair to women. And what they ended up doing was making a lot of men really, really late to work. And they're also the people who said they would fight Putin with feminist foreign policy. It was definitely not Sweden. I look at what country it is.
It was.
When I was in Germany, I almost, if I not gotten cold feet, I would have gone with 2 girls from Sweden. So fuck you. I'm going to Sweden.
It was Hungary.
You're making me hungry
Hungary
now.
sounds right.
Yeah, Hungary outlawed it.
I'm getting hungry now. Thank you very much, asshole.
You're welcome. I love you.
I'm grabbing food right after this, so you should do the same. As someone who just got out of university, thankfully debt-free because I had responsible elders that were generous enough to help me out. Not doing student loans in general would probably be nice.
Luckily, I graduated my bachelor's in 2001, so I'm old. Let's
be real about this.
Caprico was alive in 2001, right?
I was alive in 2001.
No, you weren't.
My youngest brother, it wasn't.
Yeah, Caprico was like 5.
You saw the towers fall.
Caprico was
a thought in his mama's head.
No, yeah.
He wasn't alive to see freedom be destroyed by a couple of angry men in turbans.
I remember 9/11. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was like yesterday.
No.
I know.
Yes, it was. It was yesterday.
I was there for it. Believe me, I'm not going to forget it anytime soon.
Yeah, I was there, not going to forget it. And also I have other things about 9/11 as well, because one of my friends was born on 9/11. Sadly, he's not with us anymore.
Wow.
And yeah, so anyway. I don't know. Student loans is just
it's a profit center. It's not going to go away. Like the $500 textbook, and
it's not going to go away. And I've had many discussions with people on this, on why they shouldn't take out student loans. I had my ex-girlfriend when we went to college, she took out like this $8,000 loan with like 16% interest on it, or it was something crazy like that, and she had to keep paying for it monthly. And I'm like, why did you do that? You have like 12 grand and you have 12 grand in savings. Why aren't you using that? And she's like, well, I need that. I'm like, no, you use it.
Yeah, I had someone, dude. I've seen some people write some posts about it's a feminist issue or some kind of shit about student loans because more women have higher debt. That's because more women go to college and more women. I'm sorry, ladies, stop majoring in bullshit. Major in STEM or don't go to college.
So just a little bit of perspective here. No matter how much noise there is about gender studies, it's still all in all a very inconsequential major in terms of people who actually get those degrees.
Yeah, the thing is that when a lot of people get in various liberal studies degrees, and oh man, I got in an argument with a Canadian about liberal studies degree. He's a piece of shit, but let's not talk about it. And I know math is liberal studies also, but generally when we say liberal studies, we don't mean that. There's a lot of people majoring bullshit. I think there's a whole lot of really underemployed journalism majors based on the shit I see put out on clickbait media. I'm thinking there's a lot of underemployed journalism majors out there.
There is, yeah, including that article about saying that people are living longer by drinking the blood of children. I'm not kidding.
Hey, wait a second. That does work. I do it every night.
This
Okay, Allie.
answers a lot of questions, Allie.
Yeah, this is,
Yeah, and the article mentioned about $8,000 for 2.5 pints of plasma from teenagers.
Best $8,000 I ever spent.
Damn.
Bruh, this is not Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yes, it is.
You know, it might as well be. I mean, you're talking about versus college. I mean, come on.
We're in a very cyberpunk future in this sense, and it's not very subtle.
You want to
the
best way. I mean, if you're a geek, the best way to do college is to just forego and just get a job at the college and get your tuition for free.
That's exactly what the techie guys do. What they'll do, and I give them kind of we had a couple different alternatives that we could do. So you would go into your first year of say IT or information systems, which is IT and business put together. I almost went for that, but then opted for IT. What you'll do is you'll go through your first year. Once you get your first year done, now you have all of these companies that partner with the university that will give you an internship and also part-time work during the school year. So you can get internship credits out of the way, and you're also making decent money while you're doing it as well. I was able to, by the end of my academic career, I was able to be making about, I think, close to $15 an hour through just general raises and performance reviews. And also I had a couple promotions as well.
You know what else can do that? A trade school that teaches you a proper trade.
And that is also the case too. My younger brother is looking into that right now, and I'm going to be helping him with that as well.
You know the Germans are not only huge on that, but they're bringing it back over here. I read an article about 2 weeks ago about this, where German companies are coming to the U.S. into flyover country and opening up trade schools and showing people how trade schools work. And you go to school, you learn your trade, you walk out the door, you've got a job.
Yeah, which is great, and it's a great idea. I love the Germans for that.
We can do that. We don't need the Germans to show us how to do that.
Right.
But the thing is, no one does it because there's no profit in it.
Right. You don't do, yeah. The other things that Germans do, I was in Europe for 6 months, and I just got back a couple months ago. And one of my German friends that was at university with me, she was saying, if you move to Germany and become a German citizen, or there's some weird thing where if I said I was a student or something like that, or if I was working in Germany, they will pay for you to get the German government will pay for you to get your master's.
Same thing with Finland. Finland does something similar.
Yeah, they're just like, yep, we'll help you get smarter. And then here you're like, what? No, you have to pay for that.
No, go to Starbucks, get a job there, be a barista who knows about Edwardian English. Oh, okay.
No, you can't go to Starbucks, or the women's studies majors would never be able to be employed.
No. That's theater majors.
Depends on where you live.
I was actually heavily involved in a relationship with a person years ago who was studying Russian literature. And I was like, what the fuck are you going to do with that? You're never going to get any kind of job with that. I tried to get her a job at the UN as a translator. She wouldn't take it. And she's now 18 years later still doing Susie secretary bullshit.
Wow.
Professional administrative assistant. Get my coffee, suck my dick, and make some copies.
My game plan for the future is to get about $2 million in finances in various investments, then live by like the 4% rule for the rest of my life.
I looked into that 4% rule, tried to understand it. I still do not understand that 4% rule.
All right, quick rundown of the 4% rule. On 30-year spans throughout the United States history, the U.S. stock market has done about 7% per year.
Okay.
Now, times it's done worse than that. Times it's done better than that. But the average is 7%. Inflations have been about 3% per year. The idea is that by taking 4% of your entire profits and increases every year, you keep your principal, and I mean your inflation-adjusted principal, in place, but you can live off that 4%. So
Okay.
let's say you have $2 million right now, making about $80,000 a year off that, and you could live off that. And in theory, the principal that's in various accounts, investment accounts, will stay there. And this is assuming that you're invested in something like S&P 500.
Got it.
Yeah, and if you're going off the average,
$2 million. That's the problem.
Well, we'll talk off air about that, but I'm working on it.
Oh boy, regulators,
if you're
down up.
if you're withdrawing from if you're doing the 4% rule, you wouldn't be putting 100% of your investment in a stock-based index fund, purely stock-based.
That is true. That is, and there are also other things that are. Well, as you're younger, they usually put in things in high growth, like S&P 500 to a degree.
Oh yeah, no, S&P. Yeah, if you're really young, you just put everything in fucking stocks. If it's a retirement fund,
but they put things in REIT and bonds as you get older.
REITs.
Have you ever heard of the Vice Fund?
No.
It's a mutual fund based on alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and military.
Cool.
That's where fun.
And hey, you have that federal vice tax, so yeah.
One investment platform that I used a couple of years ago when I was
say Robinhood.
No. Now you made me lose my train of thought. Sorry. I was using this application called Stash, and what it would do would be I would give them money.
They ran your transactions up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. What they would do is they had it's been forever since I researched them before I started using them. Have you guys heard of like there's Stash and then there's Acorns? Have you heard of Acorns?
Yes, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Okay, so Stash is basically the same concept where you're buying into these stock packages, and you're buying like portions of these stocks. You're not buying like full stock. So you're buying into kind
of like a mutual fund.
Yeah, kind of like a mutual fund. You're like buying into Apple, Microsoft if you want. You're buying into
through the tech one.
Yeah. Through like a tech one, or like a tech fund, which they called. I don't even remember. It's been forever. But I would use that, and I think eventually I made like $100 off of it in like a year, which was nice. But I had to funnel in about 400 or so, which is okay.
25% returns, or not? It's not bad.
25% in something to bulk at.
Yeah, I think it was. I think at the end of it was 5 because I think I started pulling money. I was pulling money out whenever it would. I didn't want to have a whole lot there because I still needed to pay rent.
Well, if your rent is something to where that $400 is going to make make or break it, then
there were other costs. I was also going to be traveling to Europe, so I had to pull that money out. I needed that money for Europe.
You know what paid my rent for about a year? And that was easy
Bitcoin?
to do. And if it got caught before I got caught. No. Of all things, I ran a poker table in Second Life with a 20% rake.
Oh my god!
I'm not 20. I'm a 2% rake. Sorry. I literally paid $150 for this piece of software, that ran a virtual poker table, and I put a 2% rake on every pot. So every pot that was paid out, 2% of it went to me.
Huh.
And I left that sucker running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And people in Second Life would come into my house, they'd sit down and play poker. And then at the end of the month, I would just cash out.
Nice.
And then they made gambling illegal in Second Life, and everything went to hell.
Yeah, my investment. I got some advice on Twitter recently about what I would have changed if I can go back to being Caprico's young age of 14. And
God damn
Hey,
it!
that's next year.
oh, okay. I would definitely have paid off my house earlier because paying off debts is pretty much a no risk proposition and likely at higher interest rates than anything else. And I would have invested in like S&P 500 shit earlier in my life.
Mm-hmm. That's the plan for me. I mean,
I don't even have an investment plan anymore. I've been kicked down so many times that I've been on a survival trip for so long that I've made plans for survival and not for investments. I don't foresee myself being able to retire. Too many bad things have happened. I do things like I prepay my bills 5% at the time and keep credit balances on all my utilities, things like that. And that's helped cushion a lot of falls I've had to take. But I've had to take some serious falls in my time. I lost roughly 1.8 million in 9/11.
yeesh.
I made a nice chunk of money in the .com boom off of stock grants from a company I worked for, and 9/11 came and wiped the whole fucking thing out. And then I got into .gov, was doing well in .gov, and then some bad shit happened there, and I got that, and then I got knocked out again. And so I just, I'm doing a survival thing, and it's working. And I'm hoping that in the near future I'll be able to do some kind of, squirreling money away thing, some kind of investment thing to have something for when the day comes when I can't work anymore. But literally right now I work from home. I make decent money, and my commute is from my bed to my desk.
Yeah, I'm looking at another position like that because I got offered a job recently, but it pays only $75K a year, and they want me to do a 1.25 hour commute every day, backwards and forwards. So like,
fuck that noise.
2.5
That's not
hours.
worth it.
And yeah, I can't. And they said other people do that commute, but I don't want to do that commute.
When I lived in San Francisco, I worked for a very, very big, very heavy duty player. I won't say their name because they suck. But
Pornhub. Okay, gotcha.
I'm not going to say they suck. I'll tell you what. The company is great. The technology is great. The people are shit.
Oh.
Which is what you find a lot of in San Francisco.
It's San Francisco, yeah.
Okay? But they weren't paying shit. They were paying shit money. I had to live in San Jose in order to afford everything. So I had a 3.5-hour commute each way every day.
Whoa.
that.
That means getting up at fuck you in the morning, getting the 7 a.m. Cal train, and then when the Cal train pulls into San Francisco, getting on a bus or walking the 5 blocks to the office, and doing that every day. I ended that shit. 6 months of that shit fucked me up.
Well, before I say anything, we need to get off live.
Let's go ahead and finish this thing up with the further reading Megachrome extension compromise.
Yeah, so these are just
Boing.
Items for you guys who are watching to look at the show notes. Look at it later on, but the Megachrome extension was compromised.
That was a big one.
Yeah, it was fairly large. They could intercept anything you were doing. So if you're using it, get rid of it. I think it has been updated, but validate that.
All right. In that case, I think we covered pretty much all the show notes, and we can stop the broadcast. And I hope to see everybody next Wednesday. I don't plan on being at another con next Wednesday. Sorry we didn't have a stream last Wednesday, but we were doing shit for GurCon.
Yeah.
And by we mean Adrian.
Gurkhan.
And Mary.
And Mary.
That the one that's in Nevada?
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay, then I'm thinking of a different con.
It's a really fucking cool con. It's politically incorrect as hell, but I love it.
Nice.
That's
the best kind.
I will stop the stream, and everybody, I'll catch you next Wednesday. But people who are on the stream, hang on, and you can BS about whatever. Talk to you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Later.